Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. My name is Eric. Hope all of you are doing well. We're doing the Manchester City versus Manchester United Derby preview. I'm saying United's going to win. I think United have a very good chance to win. Some people might feel like they're not so confident in that. I feel pretty confident for a certain amount of reasons. We're going to get into that. A couple loose end news. Obviously, since the last time we talked, and it's been a few days, so we haven't really talked much. But Onana is gone. He's sent on loan to Turkey. Transinspor. I said their name wrong, but I don't care. Yeah, so he's gone. He's just arrived there. I think we're all happy and good riddance. And, we've been talking about the goalkeeping thing for quite a while. And I said, that probably the most likely situation before it happened is that, or what I would do is get Onana out. You obviously got Lemons and you got Binder, and you got them two fighting for the spot. I think Lemons is probably, a shoo-in at this point for the first spot, because I don't think Binder has been all too convincing, but Ruben may be a little bit stubborn in that, he does tend to give lots of chances. If you're putting in the work behind the scenes, if you're not giving up, if you have a good attitude and you're part of the team, he does tend to give the players multiple opportunities to prove themselves. So, many people think that Lemons will be starting in goal versus Manchester City. And he may very well be, but I wouldn't be ultimately surprised if he doesn't. He goes with Binder. So we're going to get into all that stuff. We're also going to bring you the latest and live breaking news around Manchester United. There is news coming out right now. There's news that usually comes out around this time, so we will keep you up to date as things break. We'll have the discussions and all that good stuff. Please get involved in the chat. Have your opinion, say things, bring up topics, whatever you want to talk about. Go ahead, say it. This is a free space to do that. And also, before we get into the show, just please make sure you smash the like button, because it helps the channel grow. It helps us get pushed out there, helps us get more views. If we get more views, we get more subscribers, we build the community. And if you're new to the community, make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell icon so you don't miss a live. But I just want to get into a couple just quick little things real quick. So about the Manchester City and United derby, and I hate saying their name first because I'm a United fan. But yeah, there's a couple things surrounding the injuries. There's injuries on both sides, but I will hit the United side first. As we all know, Matheus Cunha went off injured in the match versus Burnley, and Mason Mount also went off at halftime injured versus Burnley. Now, we had a couple updates after the match and a couple days after that match, and now, it's been about almost 2 weeks. And the game or the match is coming up soon. And we've gotten this update from Ben Jacobs saying that Matheus Cunha and Mason Mount will be sidelined for a number of weeks due to their injuries. So not good news there. Not the news that we wanted to hear. More specifically so about Cunha, because I think we're all aware of Mason Mount and his injury problems. And it's unfortunate, but it's not a surprise. And this is something that we've always talked about. I always felt like Mason Mount could be somebody that's useful to our squad, whether that's a starter or a squad player, but he has to be able to stay fit. And he did a good little period from last season up until now staying fit, but he's now gotten injured again, and he's going to be sidelined for a number of weeks. And that's not a good sign for somebody that has been injury prone since basically walking into the club. So it's not looking good for him. But obviously the more important one, in my opinion, is Matheus Cunha. Obviously he's going to be, according to Ben Jacobs, he's going to be out for a number of weeks. Which I said I figured, because if you do the hamstring, you're probably out for 2 to 4 weeks or something like that, depending on the severity of the hamstring. He was doing some light work in the gym himself, so it wasn't like too bad, but obviously these things take time to heal, and we don't want to rush him because we want him back in a couple of weeks. We don't want him back in, 2 months or something like that, or making it worse, which we have a history of doing as well. So those are the two updates on that, but we do have some other updates surrounding the Manchester City and United derby. So we'll jump to City real quick, and then we'll jump back to United because there's a couple other ones that we have to hit on. So with City, they also have a number of injuries. Actually, they have quite a lot of injuries right now. So some of the injuries, they just were handed another new injury blow in the midweek. Marmamouche was forced off early in Egypt's last qualifier, World Cup qualifier, with a knee issue. So he will be ruled out of the derby. John Stones withdrew from the England squad for matches against Andorra and Serbia with a muscle complaint, while summer signing Ryan Cherky remained sidelined. Kushanoff picked up a knock against Brighton, while the likes of Mateo Kovacic, Josko Guardiol, Savinho, Phil Foden, and Marcus Bettinelli have also been injured of late. So they have a significant sort of list in the injury department right now. I mean, Guardiola is doubtful. Mateo Kovacic is out. Rico Lewis is doubtful. Nico Riley is doubtful. Kushanoff is doubtful. Marcus Bettinelli is out. Cherky is out. Savinho is doubtful. Marmouche is out. Stones is doubtful. Phil Foden is doubtful. And Calvin Phillips is out. Which I don't even know if he's still part of their team, but he's listed here. Obviously, the big one is Donnarumma is going to be coming in at goalkeeper. They signed him. Donnarumma is Donnarumma, we know. So we have sort of a big task at hand because we've been struggling to score goals a little bit. We're doing well to create chances. We're doing well to create numbers of shots. They're just not translating into the final product. And, you know, the hope that many United fans have right now is that, listen, we're creating the chances, the goals will come. This is like a typical saying in football, you know, if you just keep creating the chances, the goals will come. You know, people compare it to a bottle of ketchup, whatever you want, whatever you want. But on our end, also, I forgot to mention, Erling Haaland needed stitches after a freak accident on international duty. They saw him hit in the face by a door of Norway's team bus. Shout out to that door of the team bus. But it did not stop him from scoring 5 goals. Against, you know, Moldova. But for United in specifically, we talked about Cunha and Mason Mount. They're out. They're not going to be available. Lisandro Martinez remains a long-term absentee, and Diogo Dalot withdrew from Portugal duty last week with a muscle injury. So we got to kind of see what's with him. I kind of feel like Dalot will probably play. Maybe I feel like it's a bit precautionary. I don't think it was something that would have necessarily stopped him from playing for Portugal, but I think at this moment in time, he probably decided it's not really worth the risk. I have a full season for United. We have, you know, an important season coming up. I want to be a part of it. And, you know, I'll have many opportunities to play for Portugal later on. So I feel like his thing was a little bit precautionary. I might be wrong. We'll see how we go. But, you know, one of the biggest things that we're going to have to be talking about is Amorim must decide whether to stick with Bayender in goal or turn to his new signing, Sonny Lemons, in you know, a big match. I worry a little bit about the kid, but also at the same time, you know what? I'm all for giving him a go. We signed him to this football club. If he's the correct signing and he belongs at this football club, then he should be able to go out there and, I guess, perform, you know, and have a game. And, you know, the character of these players that we're bringing in, you have to be able to stand up to the pressure. It's a big sort of ask. You just signed, you know, most of the team is on international duty. I think he was on international duty as well. So, you know, how much togetherness. Now, he does play goalkeeper. So, you know, you need maybe chemistry with the back line at the very most. You don't really need the midfielders and the attackers too much. But yeah, I think it's going to be quite interesting to see how that sort of stuff goes. Um, you know, because I don't know. I don't know about the goalkeeper. My mind is a bit in two places. One is I worry that what's up, Box? How you doing, buddy? What the goalkeeping thing worries me a bit because I just don't know how good he actually is. I mean, there's people that's gonna tell me that he's really, really good. Um, but listen, I don't watch the Belgium league. I haven't watched him play a match. Um, he's coming to the Premier League, and his stats might be good for where he was, but listen, at the same time, um, you have to consider the opposition he was playing against week in, week out, the level of opposition. I worry a bit because I don't want the kid I don't want the kid to be started in goal in a derby match where basically the world is watching and we're away from home and he lets in the first goal they score, if they score, but if they were to score, the first goal have it be some sort of, mistake by the goalkeeper because it's literally like, here we go again. And it's all over. And it's not the start that I want him to have because you know what? With all that thing about Onana, uh, as soon as it was confirmed he was loaning out, I saw a bunch of clips online, and somebody reposted the clip of when we first signed him. Do you remember? And he joined the tour in the U.S. and it was the first game he was supposed to play. And we started the match, and he got absolutely done from the midfield line. By whoever we played, because he was off his line and we gave the ball away in a shit situation. And that was the first clip that we saw of him in a United fan. I think as a United player, I think we should have known at that time. It was because it was preseason. It kind of saved his ass a little bit, but I think we should have known from that moment. Yeah, this probably not going to go well. I mean, that's not a great start. It's not a great start. Steph's here as well. Shout out, Steph. How you guys doing? How you guys feeling? Give me your thoughts. Give me your opinions. How you guys feeling for the Manchester Derby? What do you think? Give me some lineup decisions. Give me some score predictions. Box says, I'd like Lemons to offer the basics, nothing fancy, just coming for the balls, collecting them, or punching them with conviction. Kick long if need, and make simple saves. Don't need Hollywood moves. I agree. I think that's probably the best thing he can do, Box. And I think that I think it's probably very good advice. And that's what I would say. He doesn't need to be Superman. He needs to have, if he starts, he needs to have a solid game. He just needs to look strong. He needs to look confident in the position. He needs to show some sort of a character in the position as to reason why we signed him. And, get the fans behind him because the goalkeeping position has been one that has been a mess since De Gea. I mean, the end of De Gea was one that divided fans and created a mess. The removal of De Gea furthered that on. The arrival of Onana and the way he performed has created a huge amount of pressure and talk around that position. And that's why I worry for this kid a bit because it's not solely about is he good enough, and I don't know. It's about the fact that there are these built up circumstances around this position, and I don't want the kid to be sinking before he's even played a full 90 minutes for Manchester United. So if he does start him, which I don't know if he's going to, because Ruben is a bit tricky sometimes. Sometimes he goes all out for it. Sometimes he's a bit more, I would call it loyal and a little bit more stubborn in certain things. He might go with Binder because Binder was here. Binder's been here. Binder did a preseason. Binder's a little bit more um used to life at the football club. Um and English football. He's played some matches. He heavily defended Binder last time that he played versus Arsenal. And the mistake was on him, and he called people out saying last time we played Arsenal, he saved the game. It's not about the goalkeeper, it's about the team. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does go with Binder. I think many people are expecting and many people want Lemons to start because I think they like me don't feel like Binder is the guy and can be the guy. And I don't think he's proved that he is consistent enough to be the guy. Because the goalkeeping, your number one thing, even, to boil it down to what Box said, which is just the basics, at the very basic, you got to be consistent. And when I mean consistent, I don't mean consistently letting up goals. Consistently being a shot stopper, saving shots and stuff like that. So, Steph says a baptism of fire, whether it's City or Chelsea, just play Lemon. See, that's what I'm saying. There's many people like Steph that just play the kid. We bought him, we rang him in. He's supposed to be the future of the position. Bring him in, play him. He's here. That's why we bring him, right? I get that argument 100%. I just have some reservations, or some worries about it. But sometimes you got to take a risk. So if he goes for it, I'm all for it. If he doesn't, I could probably understand as well. Box says, I hope we win, but I'll take a draw. And he also says, it's key Lemons builds a rapport, communication with the back three, become a unit. Yes. I mean, that is the most important thing. I mean, obviously it's good to do a whole team training session and get to know your teammates and all that stuff. But most importantly for the goalkeeper is the back three. You have to have a unit back there. You have to have a solid foundation. And the defenders need to trust the goalkeeper. And the goalkeeper needs to be able to trust the defenders. So that block back there is an important thing to have. And I don't know if there's been enough time to sort of develop that since he's come in. Obviously, it's not going to be developed to the maximum, but even if you develop it just a little bit, it could make a difference in a match, especially of this magnitude. So, Steph says new players get confidence in winning teams. If goalkeepers makes mistakes, but the team wins, so what? If Bruno misses a pen, but the team wins, so what? If Sesko misses 3 sitters, but the team wins, so what? Team wins, all okay. Yeah, and that's true. That's true too, Steph. That's a good point. I mean, even as fans, there's been many times where stuff has happened in a match, but we win the match, so we kind of let it slide a little bit as compared to when we lose the match, and those same things happen in a match. We go in on it because it makes a difference. Like Steph is saying, I mean, if Sesko misses 3 sitters, but we win the match 3-1, we'll be like, yeah, Sesko should have scored, but like, it happens, he's new, blah, 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 blah. And we'll kind of gloss over it and go away with it because at the end of the day, obviously the win and the 3 points is the most important. But if Sesko misses 3 sitters and we lose 1-0, everyone's going to be like, well, he had to score, and it's going to be a different conversation. And the same thing goes in the team aspect, like Steph is saying. Like, if he makes a mistake or he doesn't have the best game, but we win the match, like, it won't be as bad as if we lose the match, because it'll be like, all right, I did my match, the team won, I can be happy, and I have some things to work on and some things to fix. So that is important. So obviously, for me, the thing always is that we have a good performance and a good result. I would even always take not a so great performance, but a win, because it's something that we haven't been able to do. And that's the teams that win the leagues, the teams that go in the Champions Leagues and go far. They are the ones that they get wins, even when they don't play good, even when they are outplayed by whoever they're playing in the opposition, they manage to get over the line somehow. Um, and we obviously don't have that right now. It's very, black or white for us. It's very we either play good and we win, or we play shit and we get a bad result. Now the Burnley match was one that we got a bit over the line. Because we scored 3 goals. One was a pen at the end to win it. We did sort of okay and good, but then there was periods in the match where we let up and we didn't do so good, and we let Burnley back into the game and we gave up 2 goals. So um, now there's a couple other things. Hold on, let me just get back to the chat. Fox says Lemons, from his welcome interview, comes across as an old head on young shoulders. Seems wise, good temperament. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't watch it, but now that you said that, I'm actually intrigued to go watch it. So I will watch it later. If that's true, I'm not saying you're lying. I'm just saying if he is like that, I think it's good. I think it fits into the it sort of fits into the aspect of what we've been saying, in that when you scout these players, and when you go to buy these players, the profile of the player, the character, the mentality, the attitude, how they carry themselves, what they think, what they do outside of the training pitch, how they live their life, all those things are factors. And I think Ineos, definitely in terms of the players we're bringing in, they've been taking that sort of stuff more into account when you compare it to the signings of the past prior to them, where it seems like we didn't even take those things into consideration at all. So that is an encouraging sign if he's like that, because that means that, he is somebody that has a certain mentality or character, that you need to be able to play at this football club, especially at this current moment in time when we are not good, when we are not at our best. We are far from it. Fox says, also, a bit like David De Gea came in, I'm going to back Lemons, expect a few teething problems. But in the long run, he's been scouted and chosen as our number one. No, I agree. I mean, listen, it's not going to go perfectly for him. I think for it to go perfectly for him, you'd have to be extremely lucky, and it's probably one in a 10,000 chance that it goes absolutely swimmingly with no mistakes, no teething problems, like Box said. And De Gea was like that as well. I remember when De Gea came in, I remember specifically, the way he was a bit weak. He was a bit shy in terms of coming out for the ball. He was a bit of a string bean, which caused problems because the Prem is physical, and you need to be physical. You need to be strong. You need to be commanding. You need to be confident. And he struggled with that in the beginning, but he got past that. We stuck with him, and he became a very, 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 very good goalkeeper for us. And one that stayed around for a while. So the same thing could be for Lemons. And I'm sure there's things in his game that he's going to need to improve, and that he's going to need to do better and get better. I don't think he's going to be, perfect. I think that would be absurd to kind of demand of him. But he's got to show, some sides to his game. Like I always say, kind of with the squad and Ineos and everything else. You're gonna show us bad parts. You got to show us some good parts so that people can stand behind you and be like, listen, you're not perfect, but you got this going on. We see it. We respect it. We're behind you. Now go on and get better at the other things, because we know you can. So, Steph says players can't be bubble wrapped too long. That's the sad thing with United's scrutiny is always so intense. Yes, and that's why I say, Steph, that you got to be able. You have to have a certain character. You have to have a certain mentality and attitude if you're going to survive with this football club. It was tough when we were winning, and we were the champions, and we were the best. It's tougher now because the environment. It's been quite a while. It's a little bit more hostile. It's a little bit less patient. And the scrutiny is still there, and probably even more so now in today's time because of the development of social media and all that stuff. Whereas, back in our days, 2012 prior, um, like social media was just starting out, so it wasn't the same as what it is now. It's a much bigger thing, and there's a lot more eyes, there's a lot more voices, there's a lot more scrutiny. Everybody has a say, which is good and bad, but yeah. They can't be bubble wrapped. You have to have a certain thing about you to survive here. So hopefully he has it. Hopefully we've done our due diligence in picking this kid to be our new number one. And hopefully this is a signing that is gonna be around for the next 10 plus years at Manchester United, one that we can actually consider when we go down the list of signings, and we can consider and end up saying, you know what, this was a good signing, it was a success. Um, Fox says, facts, even if we were non-league, they'd be bright lights and eyes on them, 100%. Fox says he seems a lot older than 23. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's what we need. That's what we need. Bumbo seems like a very old school MUFC signing as well. He does. He's quiet. He seems like he's quiet. Um, you know, in terms of, he doesn't seem like one of these guys he's not pushing a brand. He's not doing weird Instagram posts. I think he lives a very quiet life off of the pitch as well. He seems like a humbled guy, which is what you want in your squad. You need a couple different characters. You need guys like that. You need some more fiery types like Bruno or Mateus Cunha. And that combination creates a very good atmosphere in and dynamic in the squad. So um everyone thinks Liverpool is a superb team. They are good, but what they are is exceptional at winning games. That's what we have to do. Back-to-back wins is on the line by beating City. Um, pressure, pressurize Pep. Yeah, I mean, again, Steph, it's a very good point, and just on that you brought up, I mean, back-to-back wins for United. Might This one's not going to make you feel very good, but we haven't gotten back-to-back wins in I think about 18 months. So it's a chance to sort of break the cycle. Um, if I'm 100, if I'm pretty sure, because I saw that the other day. I think they said we haven't had a back-to-back wins. Maybe it's in the Prem specifically. Um, in about 18 months. So, and just to touch on this as well, I mean, with playing City, you know, like head-to-head streaks, we haven't lost in 4 matches against them. So we got that going on. There's been multiple goals in 8 out of the 10 last matches that we played against City. Both teams have scored in 8 out of the 10 last matches we played against City. The record in the last 10 head-to-head matches is City 5, 2 draws, United 3. So I think this is a match that we can definitely win. City is not the machine that they were. They're going through a transition period. They have significant amount of injuries. They're missing some important players, and they're not on form. Actually, we're actually a point above them, um, and we have a better record. 3 matches in, they have 2 losses and a win. We have a loss, draw, and a win. So, and our form is upticking because we started with a loss, then we got a draw, and then we got a win in the Premier League specifically. They started with a win, and they're on a two match losing streak right now. So I think we can do it. We can do it. I think we will. But we need to score. We need to score. If we find out how to score in this match, I think we'll win. I think we have a very good shot at winning this match. I don't see why not. I know we're not perfect and we're not playing the best football right now, and we have a lot of things that we need to sort out. But I think the match is there for the taking. I don't think this is. I mean, if you're a sports bettor or gambler, The odds are tipped against us. We are not the favorites by any chance. And I don't even know if City are direct favorites. They have better odds than us. They have better odds than us from the bookmakers, but I just want to check it. Here we are. So yeah, so City are favorites, and we are. I don't know what it is in decimals. We use pluses, but yeah. Um, Axe is here. What's up, Axe? How you doing? Fox says, back-to-back wins. What are those? I don't know. Ask the United fan who hasn't cut his hair. I don't know his name. I forgot his name. Steph says, Eric, I suppose we find out tomorrow if Cunha and Mount are available. Leach as well was rumored to be making progress. He does well versus Haaland. Well, Steph, from the update that I got, the update that we got from Ben Jacobs, I think you might have missed it, but according to Ben Jacobs, he was on the United Stand this morning, giving out some news. He said that Cunha and Mount will be sidelined for a number of weeks due to their injuries. So, I mean, I'm going to take Ben Jacobs' word for it. As of now, I don't see how that would change in the next couple days. I think Ben Jacobs is probably, on the money with this one. So, I don't think there'll be any surprises. So I'm not expecting Cunha and Mount to be anywhere near the match on Sunday, unfortunately. And obviously the biggest one is Cunha, because I think his presence alone, forget about ability, but I think his presence alone makes a difference to our squad. And I think we're going to miss some of that fieriness in the derby. You know what I mean? That's when the characters come out. That's when those sorts of things play a much more important factor, because form goes out the window, and all that sort of stuff in a derby. So Axe says, I couldn't have been informed on Discord, as I have been banned, censored, and ejected for being authentic and unapologetic. This is a huge shame. Free Axe Lord 1984. Yeah, well, if you want to talk about that, you can message me. I wasn't there for when it happened, but I have moderators and people in place to handle that sort of stuff, and they felt like that it was warranted. So I didn't see what happened. I didn't read anything. I trust my moderators, and I trust the people I put in charge. And if they felt like that was the thing, then that's what happened. But if you want to speak to me about it, not on here, but if you want to message me on Discord or whatever, you want to talk about it, I'm more than open to doing that. But yeah, Axe says we need to win or I riot. Yeah. You've been saying that for a while though. When are you gonna actually riot? I'm not the storm, not the typhoon. I am the whole Jupiter. All right, you're losing us here, Axe. You're losing us here. Give us something. Give us something about the match. Give us something about the match. Give us, how you would line up or something. Give us a prediction for the match. Or not about the match. So you could give us something else about anything about United, really. I mean, it's international. Well, international breaks in the end, but ain't much to really talk about other than this and a couple of the loose end stuff. So, yeah, let me see what else. There was a couple other things that we need to pull up and talk about in the meantime. So, Ben Jacobs was giving us a little bit of transfer news updates. Now, everything's focused to January, but I kind of hate these things because, I mean, the window just closed, and we're far from January. Nobody knows what's really going to happen. So, but one of the things, obviously, he gave us an update about Carlos Baleba, which is already a fan favorite, and he's not our player, but he said Carlos Baleba should be seen in a bubble because that was about making an ambitious elite starting midfielder. And trying to bring that signing forwards, but Brighton ultimately said no chance. Then you had a more economical approach of, was there a name out there that maybe is a bit more short-termist? It could be a squad player, and in the end, I think Manchester United felt that the right kind of profile was not available, so they were not just going to spend money for the sake of it. Which I kind of agree with that approach in a certain sense. But at the same time, I can argue we did need a midfielder. Uh, what I don't want the football club to do is do what they did in the past, though, and panic buy and just buy anybody because they sit there and say, we want Baleba. He's the perfect guy. We've narrowed it down. We've come to the conclusion. We've done our homework. Baleba is the perfect guy for what we need. He has all the attributes. He has everything. We need him, but we can't get him because Brian won't sell, and they want a ridiculous amount of money. We don't have the money. We can't get him at this moment in time. And in the past, I think they would freak out and just be like, "We need a midfielder," and they just go and sign any midfielder, thinking that, you know, he's a midfielder. It'll be fine. It'll work itself out. And then it doesn't work out. And we spent a bunch of money on a player that isn't going to work, isn't good, and that now we're stuck with. And now we don't we've wasted the money, and we can't go and get somebody else now in that position because we've spent the money. So I do sort of agree with that approach. I just think maybe we needed to look a little bit harder because I don't see how you can say Baleba is the only guy out there in the world that can do the job. So yeah, we did need a midfielder. And hopefully that doesn't come back to bite us in the ass this season, because it is quite a worry. Ben Jacobs also provided an update just about Onana, saying those close to Onana were saying 2 weeks before the window shut that he was going to stay, and Manchester United sources were saying that any goalkeeper that came in would not affect Onana now. I think in the end, it was Onana that drove his own opportunity and move, so United would have been content just to keep Onana. And I've heard that before. I've heard a couple people say that they think that Onana was the one that actually pushed for the move, and it wasn't so much United. I think United were okay with keeping him around. That doesn't mean that he was going to be the starter, but I think they were okay for the period in time to keeping him around temporarily. But once they bring in Lemons and he's not starting and Biender's ahead of him, I think Onana was like, yeah, I'd rather just go and know that I'm going to start wherever I go than to have to try and fight this three-way race that I'm not winning and that I'm probably not going to win because I've already technically lost my spot. And now there's a younger guy coming in and doing that. Ben Jacobs also said right now, in his opinion, he would say that Sonny Lemons is the Manchester United #1. So I don't know if that's just personally, I don't know if that's just a personal opinion of his. I don't know if he's saying that because he has some, you know, inside information that United or Ruben are pressing forward with, and they're gonna start him in the match and stuff like that. So, yeah. Grace is here as well. Hi, Grace. Axe says the team needs to prove it has the coach's backs. It's a team under Amorim or 11 individuals separated from the coach. You know what, Axe? It's a good point. It's a good point. And I agree with that sentiment. They do need to do that. On the pitch, in performing and getting results. Because, well, there's multiple different factors. It's not just about the coach, but yes, the coach is one. But then it's also them as a team. It's early in the season, and there's things to fight for as of right now. It's not like last season where we hit the period and it was like, all right, everything's pretty much done except for the Europa League. So I would just add to that and be like, not only do they need to prove that they have the coach's back, they need to prove that they have each other's back as well. They need to prove. What I want to see is for them to prove that we're actually formulating a real team. this time, and not, and not that it's all smoke and mirrors. Not because, listen, before the season started, Ruben spoke a lot about it. A number of players spoke a lot about it. They said the team feels different. It actually feels like a team. It actually feels like we're building something. But you know what? Players' words have been very, very empty over the past numerous amounts of years, because they say things, but when they go in the pitch, those words don't translate to what we see on the pitch. So I would like to see it actually translate this time, in terms of everybody's got everybody's back. The players have the manager's back, the manager has the players' backs, and the players have their teammates' backs. And they go out there and they fight and they perform. And I always say this as well. I don't like losing. I don't want United to lose, but I can take away something if we fight the whole match and put everything we got on the pitch. I can, and we lose that match. I can take that defeat and move. But if we see our team go out there and they're, at half speed, they're getting out battled everywhere. They're getting beat in every aspect all over the pitch. They're getting outplayed. They're not matching the energy. They're not matching the output of the opposition. And we lose the match. I mean, those things are unacceptable. So, Ray says, "Can we trade Pep for Amorim?" Why would we do that? I think Amorim has a better has a better record against Pep than Pep has against Amorim. So, Gray says Baleba isn't worth 100 million. Better scouting finds us Baleba for a quarter of the price. I agree. He's definitely not worth 100 million in terms of ability. Obviously, a lot of these players nowadays, the prices are inflated. You don't just pay for ability; you pay for all sorts of things. There's a Prem tax on that. There's probably a United tax on that. There's also a potential tax that we're paying on that. So I would probably say real value for abilities probably a 60 million player. But you're gonna pay an extra 40 plus because of the circumstances. That's in football nowadays with all this sort of stuff. So, but I do agree more so on the point that better scouting finds us the Baleba for a quarter of the price. And this is something that at some point we're gonna need to definitely start doing, and we're gonna have to definitely start seeing from Ineos doing more, is sort of getting these players that we've been saying, like Baleba was a guy that was somewhere that literally costed nothing. I don't even know where he came from, to be honest. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know where he came from. He was literally worth nothing. They got him for nothing. He played like 1-2 seasons in the Prem, and then that's it. Now he's a 100 million player. If Brighton could do it, we can do it. So at some point, we're gonna have to start doing things like that. And I think it should be coming soon in terms of how they're developing this project of theirs. They got in their first signings. They've gone a little bit more. They've gotten a little bit more Premier League proven in certain aspects, but then they also went young again. And they went a little bit away from Ruben, because I think Ruben was trying to get as many experienced players as possible, and that's because he understands he needs results right now. But I think the next step is for them to start doing what Gray said and do better scouting and find players like a Baleba for not even a quarter of the price, probably 3/4 of the price or half the price. X says Baleba is so overrated, he can't fit Mano in. I don't get the Baleba obsession. Well, I don't know. I don't know if you compare Mano to Baleba, because I feel like they're different. They play differently. But the Baleba obsession is, I mean, people just really like him. They also think that he fits very well, and also we need a midfielder. We need a midfielder. We needed a midfielder. We still need one. And that's why, mostly, is because people see him playing for Brighton. They rate him very highly. They think he's very good. And we need a midfielder. Even with Kobe there, we still need a midfielder. You still need a midfielder. The biggest issue to me is not really about Kobe not getting fit in. It's about pretty much Casemiro, basically. Because, I mean, he's kind of old. And he's pretty much done. We got to look forward, right? We need somebody with legs. We need somebody that can do all sorts of stuff on the pitch. And you look at the midfield options; they're not great. There's four, and it's at the moment there's four, and it's Bruno, it's Mainu, it's Casemiro, and it's Agarte. I think the obsession comes a little bit more of the fact that people look at that or sort of options in the midfield, and they just don't feel like it's good. They don't feel like it's strong enough. They don't feel like it complements each other. I don't think it does. I don't think with the options we have, I don't think it complements each other. In an ideal world, I would have Bruno, Mainu, and I'd have Ugarte, and I'd get rid of Casemiro, and I'd get Baleba instead. So, and then when you look at those four options, you go, well, that feels a little bit more balanced. It feels a little bit more well-rounded. It feels like you can sort of mix and match a little bit more, in a certain sense. So we'll see. I mean, listen, the Baleba thing, I mean, they're talking about it in the news. I don't really know why. The window just closed, and if we're going to get Baleba, it ain't going to happen in January. So, that's one for next summer. So, Gray says, I wouldn't be giving him more money until next summer, but he has to have a good season. Well, see, this is the thing where I disagree with you, Grace, because I don't necessarily view it as they're giving him money. I don't view it in that way. I could be wrong, but I don't view it in that way. Because the way our club is supposed to be operating right now, and supposedly it's operating, is it is a committee. I mean, he wanted Watkins. He wanted whoever else the other player was. That were a bit older, more experienced. The club went with younger options. And they all agreed, but Ruben was the one that bring forth wanting Watkins. For example, we ended up with Sesko. He's okay with Sesko. He's good. He just preferred Watkins. His choice was Watkins. But it's not like he was forced to take Sesko in a certain sense of that. Like Ruben was like, I can't use Sesko. How am I going to use Sesko? Sesko doesn't work. He doesn't fit. He just preferred one over the other. So when you say I wouldn't be giving him any more money, I disagree with that because I don't consider it giving him the money specifically. I think in the past we've operated in that way, and I get why you make that sentiment, and I also understand what you mean, because you can't, if it doesn't work or it's not going to work in the traditional sense, we can't be buying specifically players for him. But this is why I've been saying the whole entire time that the football club has to be acquiring players that basically are usable in a couple different systems or formations or a couple different styles. And if you don't do that, then you have to, at least, the very least, if you get rid of Amorim, you got to get somebody that plays similar to him so that they can use the players that we have. And that's why I've always been saying, like, it's not solely about getting the players for Ruben. It's not solely about getting Ruben players. It's about getting players that fit what we're trying to play, what the identity of the football club is supposed to be. And that has to be set by the hierarchy, in regard of the manager. I mean, I've been saying that for months now, and months, that you can sign players that work for the manager we have, but also these players should be able to be used if he goes. And that's why I say the manager no longer in today's football is really, I mean, there's a couple of them left, but the way it's going, especially with these younger guys coming through right now and these newer managers like Xabi Alonso, etc., and even Ruben and these other managers, they're not the queen on the chessboard anymore. They're not. They're not. It's a bit a bit disrespectful to call them a pawn, but they're not the queen. They're not the main. They're not the main person to protect anymore. We've seen this. I mean, managers are getting hired and sacked 3 matches into the season, left, right, and center. So, if football is operating that way, that means that when you're making your signings as a football club has to be what's best for the football club, not necessarily what's best for that current manager. It has to work. You can make it work for that current manager, but it can't be specifically a Ruben signing. It has to be a signing that works for Ruben, but can also work, after Ruben. So I wouldn't say I wouldn't give him any more money, because I think the club has to continue to spend on players. The club cannot ever stop buying players, because we'll just fall further behind. So, X says, yes, I absolutely agree. Amorim has everything in place for him. Make the team great again or leave. Well, yeah, that's pretty much where we're at, Axe. I think the only thing that we differentiate on, Axe, is probably the amount of time. Because I feel that way as well. I do. Because at some point it has to be, if you're meant to be here, then you find a way to succeed, and you find a way to make it work. So I feel like he's gonna have to do that this season. I think where we differentiate is probably the amount of time that should take, or we're willing to give him, to see if he can do it. But I mean, he's gotten players. We're doing better in some aspects compared to last season when he came in. But there's some work that still needs to be done, and his job as a coach and as a manager is to solve those problems and make things click and make sure that we get 3 points and we win matches. So, same thing I said for Eric Ten Hag. I say for him, and I say it to him, he's got to help himself. He's got to help himself. He needs to buy himself as much time as possible. And you do that by winning matches. And that's, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, because we could play a few matches where we don't play very good, or we don't look very good. But if he's getting 3 points out of those, at the end of the day, it's not really going to matter too much. But if we ain't playing that good and we ain't getting points and we're falling down the table, that's when it's not looking very, very good for him. So, Steph says Lemon Joro, Delit, Shaw, Maz, or Lemon Joro, Delit, Shaw or Maz, Ugarte, Casemiro, Dorgu, and Buemo, Sesko, Bruno is my predicted team for the derby. Ahmad off the bench if we need a spark and another late winner. It's an interesting. So you think that he's gonna push Bruno up? I mean, probably. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how he goes, because I mean, there is no Mount and there is no Cunha. So what you're saying right there off the bat is that's 2 10s out, and Sesko was not starting, and Cunha was getting pushed into the striker position, which allowed Mount and Mbuemo to play as 10s. But we've lost Mount, and we've lost Cunha, so comes up for a bit of an interesting sort of debate in terms of. I think I agree to the certain extent. I would like to see Sesko start. I think Sesko needs to start starting. We bought him for that reason. I will also say this. I don't like, and I don't agree with him putting Cunha or whoever else it may be, Mount or whatever. I don't like him. I don't like him putting those players at the striker position. We don't look that great with it. Um, I don't like it. It feels wrong. It feels wrong. I don't think it's a good thing. I was getting a bit annoyed by that he kept doing that. So this is an opportunity for Sesko to start. It's a big match. I hope he scores. But I hope he starts. But yeah, I mean, I think if you go that way, Sesko should be up top, and we should probably push Bruno up there. And Mbuemo's going to be there, and then in the midfield, you got to go with either Ugarte, Cas, or Mainu and Ugarte, or Mainu and Mainu and Casemiro. And then in the back, I think Shaw's been doing all right back there. So I feel like Shaw will probably start because Maz just came back from injury, yeah. So I don't really expect Maz to necessarily start at center back, but I think it depends what happened with Delo as well, because he did have some sort of a muscle complaint or something like that. So maybe he's not 100%. Maybe he's not, fit enough to start. Maybe he's only fit enough to play 30 minutes or something like that. So Delo's out, and you got to say, well, we either go with Diallo or we go with Maz, if that's one of the options as well. So we'll see. Access sincerely for Lemons. It's make it or break it. I haven't heard of him before. Hopefully he is a gem, but I don't know. Well, that's what I was saying, Axe, before as well. I mean, I heard of his name, but I haven't seen him play. I refuse to watch the clips because, again, no offense, if you're a clip watcher, if you're a highlight watcher, that's your thing. Enjoy it. By no means am I telling you not to do that. Do what you please, but that's not for me. I don't really like those things because I think it's a bit misleading. You're not seeing full 90-minute performances, and also just for the fact that those clips and those highlights are in the Belgium league. That is not a high standard of level of competition there when you compare it to the Prem. So I'm waiting for him to make his Manchester United debut so I can assess him in our matches playing for our team in the Premier League. I think a little bit like Axe is saying, it's a bit make or break. I don't necessarily want to like put that sort of onus on him in that sense, but how I explained before Axe joined, and a couple other of you, I said it's not just because of him, but it's because of what has happened around the position of the goalkeeper, from the ending of De Gea to Onana coming in, to Onana doing what Onana did and all his mistakes and how it went with him, and even being there, being inconsistent. There's a lot of eyes, there's a lot of talk, and there's a lot of added extra pressure on that position. And like Axe said, same. I hope he's a gem. I haven't watched him, so I don't know how actually good he is. But if he starts in this match, in this derby, I just hope, like me and Box were talking about before, keep a little bit of the basics. Just have a strong showing. You don't need to do anything spectacular. Just save the ball, be smart with the distribution, be strong, and just have a good match. I would like to, if he starts, I just don't want, what I worry about is some sort of a error for him. I don't want to see him kick off his career as a young guy goalkeeper with an error. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen. I'm just saying that I don't want it to happen because I think it's a little bit like Axe is saying. It's a bit make or break, and I think some of the circumstances it has nothing to do with him. It's just our football club and the situations surrounding that position. And if you get him in, you want him to have a good start. It creates positivity. It builds confidence. You don't want to see the kid starting in goal and have him get chipped from the midfield line as his first action, like Onana did in preseason. So, um, Grace says that her team is Delo in goal, back three of Fioro, Delit and Delo, wingbacks of Dorgo and Delo, midfield two of Mano and Delo, front three of Mbuemo, Delo, and Sesko. You know what? We might actually have a chance if we were able to do that. Does anybody have a cloning machine so we can clone some Delos? We could give one to Grace, and we could put the rest in our starting lineup. So if we can figure out how to clone Delo, um, we might actually stand a very, very good chance in this match. So if anybody has a cloning machine out there, let us know. You know, you'll make Grace very happy. We could give her her own Delo. I think she would be very, very happy by that. Actually, I still believe strongly that his tactics won't work in the EPL, but okay, we can't afford to excuse Amorim because of the lack of transfers. He can't be below the 8th place. Like, come on. Well, I agree with that. In terms of, it's fine. You strongly believe his tactics don't work. His tactics won't work. That's fine. That's up to him to prove. That's part of his job. Part of his job is to prove that they will work. And we'll find out. You know what I mean? We'll find out. But no, I agree. I mean, like, he can't be below 8th place, and I don't think anybody's making a push to say that's acceptable, especially with what we did in this transfer window, sort of what he's promised us as well and stuff like that. So it's very situational, the right word. I think it is very situational. Like, when you say he can't be below 8th place, like, you just mean like in general throughout the whole season? Like, if we're 9th and once, it's unacceptable? Or do you mean like a finish in 8th place? Because, like, right now, where we are, I mean, the table is, it's only 3 matches in. The table is very close. We're in 9th, technically. So right now, what you're saying is, like, he can't be there. But, I mean, we're only 3 points off second. We're 5 points off of Liverpool at the top. But, we're 3 points off Chelsea, and we're 2 points off of Arsenal, Tottenham, and Everton. Sunderland, Bournemouth, and 1 point off Palace, who's right above us. So it's a bit situational. I mean, if we're tight in the Prem in points, we're down in the position a little bit. It's one thing. If we're 11th and we're 12 points off of 4th, it's a different thing. So we just got to see how it unfolds. Really, we just got to see how it unfolds. Better buy Musiala. Oh, Chad's here as well. I'm really behind on the chat, so I apologize, guys. But I just saw because it skipped. Better buy Musiala than Baleba. Musiala. I said Musiala. My head is fried. Also, the Rat is leaving England to sack on the Orange. Hopefully, he leaves United as well. Okay. X fingers are typing the speed of light. Grace says that's what I meant, 3/4. Yep. Magnifico is here. Says Poppin' Dog. What's up, buddy? How you doing? We're just talking about the match, the match coming up, the derby. For anybody that just joined, I see Rajat's in here and Chad's in here as well. So been a little bit since I talked to a couple of you. Throw in your thoughts, predicted lineups, score predictions, whatever you want to see from the match on Sunday, because that's what we're talking about right now. So Axe says, bro, we literally need 2 N'Golo Kantes for that midfield to ever work. Do you think so, though? Because I kind of disagree on that a little bit, because I feel like 2 N'Golo Kantes won't work. Because 2 N'Golo Kantes, where's the creation? Where's the creation in two N'Golo Kantes? I think you need somebody that can also create. You need somebody that's kind of just generally. I think you need somebody probably like a Conte, yeah. And he's better than Ugarte in creation for sure. But then you need probably somebody that's a little bit more overall rounded, somebody that can tackle, somebody that can do the dirty work, but then also has a good foot, a good vision, and can create chances from back there and progress the ball forward as well. So Rajat, what's up? Rajat says, will you be doing 10 to 12 hour live stream today or no? Probably not, but we are already an hour in, so you know no, we're not doing 12 hours. One day we'll do a 10 to 12 hour stream, but not today. Rajat says, don't need Musiala type players that got that much, got 3 players that can play as a 10. Chad says, this weekend's March doesn't count. Derby games are different. This weekend, yeah, I mean, that is true. It is true. I mean, probably the best thing is probably when you compare, the matches we played against each other instead of like form or something like that. And then I guess maybe even then you could kind of say, well, each one is different. And kind of goes outside of whatever happened in the past. But I mean, it is a bit of a good indication, when you look at the last sort of 10 matches we played against them. And the last 4, besides the loss that we took in the Community Shield with the penalty shootout, but the last 4 matches we haven't lost to them, so we're on a good run against them. So Rajat says, well said, he needs to show and earn that he deserves more time. No, he has to. I mean, but that's everybody, it's not just Ruben, the players as well. Each individual player has to show and earn that they deserve to be here. And that's kind of why I think I forgot to bring it up last time in the show, but you just reminded me, Rajat. One of the things I was thinking about was whether you wanted Rasmus to stay or not. Whether you think maybe he should have been given one more season opportunity. I think out of the Rasmus thing was something important. I think they did it with a couple other players in terms of a Rashford or even a Garnacho or something like that. But I think even with Rasmus was one that I think it sent a good message in terms of that this club will no longer be keeping you around for the sake of keeping you around. Like, this club is no longer looking to keep you because it's not necessarily good for the Glazers' pockets in terms of the value of the club when they write things off on the books or something like that. This club is no longer, I feel like with the Rasmus thing, it was like it was a bit ruthless. Like, they were like, you had 2 seasons here. Your first season was okay for somebody that just came. Your second season was a disaster. And you're done. And you're done. And they moved them out. And they bring in a new striker. And I think that sends a strong but good message to the rest of the team and to the players that this place is no longer going to continue to be essentially a charity. Like, you have to come here and you have to prove and you have to earn the right to stay here and have more time at this football club. And if you don't do that, we're not going to wait 3, 4, 5, 6 years. You have 1 to 2 years to show that you're heading in that direction, or you're going to be out of here. And I think that's something that our football club has been missing. I think our football club allowed a period of time where the players were far too relaxed because they knew that this club won't get rid of me. It's too expensive for them to do it. They care too much about money. They've made me the star. They paid me all this money. Nobody's going to take me. This club is now actively looking to get rid of whoever, whenever they want. So I think in that terms, I think it's actually a positive because it keeps the players, on their toes. I don't know, if you guys played football ever. I don't know if they ever told you this in training, but they ever tell you don't be flat-footed. You want to be on your toes. You want to be, kind of bouncing around. You're ready to, to react. And I think that's what happened in our football club in a certain sense is that there was many players that were very flat-footed. They got very comfortable, and that leads to, you know, a downward spiral of not performing well. So we'll see, how that sees to change anything. Hopefully, um, Rajat says he wants to see Bruno and Buemo Casemiro's front three. Casemiro, listen, Casemiro striker. Don't give him the ball in his feet. Just send in 74 crosses to his head. Because actually, when we do corners, the balls and even some set pieces from free kicks, Cass is a target. The ball finds Cass's head a lot. He doesn't score a lot. He scored a couple, but he hasn't scored. He probably could have scored more because he's had some very good chances from set pieces in his head. So Casemiro striker, don't give him the ball in his feet. Just send in 77 crosses into the box to his head. Maybe we win. Mark Harris says remove Bruno, give Cheeto minutes, throw Coney in midfield. Shaw and Mount shouldn't be in the first team. Well, Mount's not going to be in the first team because he's injured, so he's out. Short thing, I get it, but listen, he's been playing all right. Staying fit, so we'll see, because what happens. And yeah, I mean, just to remove Bruno part, I mean, it's not going to happen. But if that's what you want, that's what you want. I'm just, but yeah, Bruno's not going to get removed, and you know what? Cheeto and Kone should get some minutes somewhere, and they should be getting integrated at some point. So they need to, especially some of the other youngsters that we have. I mean, at some point we're gonna have to. We should be giving them minutes. We should be getting them involved. I think right now, Ruben's focus is a bit more on more experienced players and getting their feet sorted. I still think he feels like the atmosphere, surrounding the first team probably isn't a great. It's the first team's not in a great position to be throwing in these kids. Some people argue that that's why they should be in there. That's fine. I get it. I'm just talking about where the manager stands and what I feel like he kind of thinks, based on his actions as well. I think Ruben, what he really wants is he really wants to just have a solid structure and foundation and understanding between these so-called experienced first teamers. And if he can get that sort of solid foundation, I think you would see these youngsters like Cheeto and Kone getting thrown in more to the mix, getting more minutes. I kind of feel like that is his philosophy and thinking behind it. I think he feels like with these young players, you don't know what you're gonna get. It's a bit more of a risk because they are a bit more unpredictable. They could be very excellent. They could make a horrible mistake. They could have a very really tough time out there during the match. We've seen a couple instances of that. Some players come in, like Amenu or Garnacho in the beginning, they play very well. They stick it out and they stay in there, and they're in and about around there. But we've also seen the likes of Tyler Fredrickson and my son Harry Amos. Just they played one good match. They played another couple matches. They didn't play to that level. They struggled a little bit. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how things develop. Rajat says, want Man United to try and get Bellingham type 10. Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're gonna get a Bellingham type 10, we're gonna have to find one. In terms of, we're gonna have to find one that's not developed and then develop him. Because You're not gonna buy it. And there's only sort of one Bellingham out there. So, um, Rajat says, and bro, what is happening to this country mean? Sorry, don't want to be political. Yeah, I mean, listen, we don't really talk the politics, but I think, everybody sort of knows what happened yesterday. Um, and it is a bit concerning, especially if you live in this country, because regardless of political stances, um, I respected Charlie Kirk for the fact of pure debate. Um, not about his opinions, but I've said to you guys many times. I started this channel because I believe in society and out there in the world, and even in this space as Manchester United fans, that there's too many platforms and there's too many people that have a channel that don't really allow conversation. They don't really allow debate. They shush people. Um, they they hate people for people having different opinions. They shut them out, and I don't agree with that. I think you should be able to have conversations with people, and that's what he stood for. Um, to me, he stood for some other stuff as well, but the thing I respected him the most was he liked debate. He liked debate. He liked conversation. And he was willing to go out there and have these conversations with people. And I think the world probably needs to be a little bit more like that, where you can talk to people and disagree with them all day, but you can do it in a certain manner that doesn't have to end in just horrible things being said to one another, or even further to violence. And his life was taken for that. And in this country, it goes against our country. It goes against what our country stands for. You should not be getting murdered or killed for things you say or you believe, your beliefs. So, and you know what, take all that out. The guy was a father of two young kids, and he was 31 years old. He's the same age as me, and he had a wife, you know? And that to me is the saddest part of the whole thing, is the two kids and the wife, because I don't know how you continue life after something like that happens to somebody that you loved. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, it's a bit of a weird time in the world and society right now, but um there's been worse periods, and we as a world have gotten through it, and we've pushed through it, and that's just what we got to keep doing now, man. So you gotta try and keep your heads up, and try not to get too dragged down by political things, or world things that are happening, and lose faith in the world. You gotta keep pushing forward. You gotta, I, I would say, try to stay on the good side of things. I think, when evil happens and bad stuff happens, I think it's very easy to succumb to the dark side of things. Um, and I think it's important for people all over the world to try and keep their faith in humanity and their good side, and try and be the best person that they can possibly be, out there for themselves and to others as well. So, um, but yeah, that's pretty much the most, if you want to call it political, that's probably the most political thing we've ever said on 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 this whole thing. So, Mark Harris, just yeah, keep it toned down. We're not, this isn't a political space. We're not talking politics in that way. So don't do that. Don't do that. I'm giving you a warning. Just don't do that. I'm not going to read what you wrote, but just don't do that. We don't need to do that. Um, ask you as well. Um, Rajat says Pep needs to probably move on or walk. Everyone seems to be disinterested to keep playing. Well, I've been saying this for a while, Rajat, that the one thing about Pep is that he's never had to rebuild his own team. Every team he's come into was either already pretty much built, and just needed add-ons to it, or he was given the money to pretty much build it from the ground up. But he's never stayed somewhere where he's had a successful winning team, and then when it ages out, you have to rebuild it. So he is in a phase where he's doing something that he's never actually done before. Obviously, we know our great manager, and in my opinion, the greatest manager of all time in all of sports, Sir Alex Ferguson. That was his class. That was his thing. That's what made one of the things that made him so great, was that he kept able to change through the generations of players, and build multiple winning squads, which allowed him to be manager for 26 years. So I think Pep's struggling with this. And I don't know if it's a certain disinterest. I just think that they've hit a period where they've had to change quite a bit. They've lost significant sort of leaders, and experienced players that they relied on to win these things, and now they have like a new group of sort of younger, inexperienced players, and they need to learn their way. And it just because he did it once doesn't mean you can do it again necessarily. It's a different group. It's a different types of players, different people. The players are people. It's different people. So yeah, I've been saying that I don't think City are going to be as great as they've been in the past. I think they're going to be a little bit wobbly. I think we've already seen that, and this is why I'm saying also I think we can win this match, because we're not superb, but neither are they. I think this match is there for the taking. I think, it's a bit tougher because we're away from home, right? They're home, so they have the advantage on that one. But I think when you say it's a derby, and the way we're both kind of looking, I think it's really 50-50 up there. I think we can go and take it if we go out there and we do what we have to do, and we're on the money. And pretty much just, if we create the amount of chances and shots that we've been doing in the past few matches, but we actually score a few more of them, I think we'll win the match. So Axe says we keep buying teenagers, expecting them to carry us on their backs. Youngsters need to grow in and mature team that has chemistry. Well, yes, I think the thing is we should be having a nice mixture of that. And I think that's why they went with like the likes of Cunha and Embuemo to buy a bit of experience especially from the Prem, and throw them in there. I mean, I think that's why Casemiro is still really around, even if Sir Jim doesn't like his wages. But I think that's why it's sort of like Casemiro's around. I think that's why Bruno is meant to be important to the squad as well, and because he's also the captain. Um, Maguire is another one that's been around. So I don't have necessarily a problem with the way we've gone about things in that sense so far, because I think actually we have quite a decently good mixture. We have a young team. Our team is young. I think it's probably one of the youngest in the league. I think that's good. Maybe we could do with a little bit more experience, but some of these other players that we have, like, it's been at the club, it's time for them to step up as well. I mean, Diallo is still young, but he's a bit more experienced than some of these younger players that we've been buying. I'd like to see him step up into a more prominent role. Shaw's been around for quite a while, so I think there's a decently good mixture. I think we just need to keep improving on the ratio. Um, Youngsters need game time. Bruno isn't the future. They do need game time, but that doesn't mean because Bruno isn't the future that you take Bruno out and you put the youngster in as a starter. because obviously they're not ready to start. Otherwise, they would just start over Bruno. If they were so good, they would be starting over Bruno. So I understand that. I do agree with that because Bruno's only getting older, and he might leave next season. He might stay for a couple more years or whatever. But at some point, Bruno Fernandez isn't going to be playing for this football club anymore. It's like every other player that hits a certain age in football, they're not going to be playing. So we got to make sure that we're developing, for the next stages as well as after that. But that all comes in a process, and it all comes in due time as well. I don't need to. I don't need to. Um, I don't need to see the process rushed. I just need to see the process happening. You know what I mean? Like they need game time. I would like to see them get minutes, and I would like them. I would like to see a progression. If they only get 10 minutes in the first 5-6 matches, so be it. But I'm happy that they're getting 10 minutes. I'm okay with that. I can live with that. As so long as that the increments start going up after a certain period of time. If we go like 15 matches into the season and they're getting 0 minutes, well, I don't really like that, and I don't think that's very good. So, it doesn't have to be instantaneous, but I would like to see some progression on that. Yeah. So, Box's Cheeto isn't even ready for the championship, let alone Premier League minutes. I like, may very well may be, but I have no problem if we have a couple kids on the bench. If we get into a match when we're winning 3-0, I would like to see the kid, whether he's like that ready. I would like to see him for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Put him on the pitch. Give him some game time. Give him a little bit of opportunity. Let him run around there. Let him get a feel for it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. There's been some periods or some times throughout the past few seasons where like we have kids on the bench and we actually, and this hasn't happened a lot because we haven't been very good, but we actually are in a match where we are winning like 3-0 or something like that. And it's the 80th minute. We're comfortable in this match. Put two kids on. Put two kids on, let them run around. It's nothing bad is going to happen in that situation. And a lot of the times, I think it happened a couple times under Eric Ten Hag. I think it happened a couple times probably. I think it happened under Mourinho. It happened under Ali as well, where we're winning the match comfortably, and it's like, all right, there's like 3 or 4 kids on the bench. Put 1 or 2 of them in, and they don't. They put in the guys that basically we've seen before. They're kind of useless, but, and it just felt like a missed opportunity to just give the kids a free hit when you can, situationally. Thomas Frank cooking at Spurs, but we'll see how long that lasts. Lucky's here as well. Oh my god. Um, you watch the U21s play, you'll see the limitations that Cheeto has, hence why he hasn't been put forward for a loan. Yeah, well, I'm gonna be as I always am. I don't watch the under 21s play, so I can't really comment. I watch clips. Those are the only clips I watch of the kids because I just like to see, them scoring goals and stuff like that. But I don't watch. I don't want the matches. I leave that to the what I call the professionals. I leave that to the professionals. I let the professionals basically give me the scouting information. I feel like I'm in charge at the football club when they do that. We have very dedicated fans all over the world, and some people they watch all levels of Manchester United, U16s, U18s, U21s. They will watch all the matches, full 90 minutes. They know very well, better than me, what a lot of the youth players and those kids look like. So I always leave it up to them. Um, I take the scouting reports on them. Rajat says do more IQ runs than Hoyland doesn't mean he is ready to play each week. Yeah, I think clearly Cheeto is not at the level to be starting week in, week out at the Premier League level. Uh, I would say it's not FIFA career mode. You don't take the kid that has 62 overall because he has a 94 potential and throw him in the starting lineup and just let him play week in, week out, so he can become a 94. This is real life. We gotta do it in ways, and processes, and slow progression. Um, Mark says, "Well, United manager that takes risks and not one formation 3-4-3 clearly doesn't work." Yeah. Well, see, here's one of the things though. I think Ruben takes risks in different ways. Now, whether you agree with that or not, that's up to you to decide. But I mean, I understand what you mean, but I think again, Ruben is a little bit unconventional in that way. There's many people like Mark that say this stuff, and I understand why. And I'm not saying that they're necessarily wrong in that opinion, but the way I see it is he does take risks, but he doesn't do it in the way that you determine is a conventional risk, because because essentially what you're saying is he doesn't take risks because he plays 3-4-3, clearly doesn't work, and he won't play like a 4-4-2 or something, so he's not taking the risk of trying to play another formation. But the way he takes risks is he alters his 3-4-3 to play in a different type of way based on the players that are in there. I mean, you can have defenders as the wingbacks, pure defenders as the wingbacks. You could put two wingers in there, like two actual wingers if you have them, but you could put it there. Now, when you do one or the other, the team will play differently. It'll have different characteristics. It also goes across the midfield and then up top. In the midfield, you could play Casemiro and Ugarte. You could also play Bruno and Kobe Mainu if you so choose to do so. Depending on those two different pairings, the team will play different. The team will have a different aspect and different characteristic to it. So I think to say he doesn't take risks, I don't agree with that. I think he takes risks in his own way that might be different to than what is the norm or what people are used to. So yeah. But I've always said, Mark, I mean, listen, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. There's nothing we can necessarily do about it. He's going to do his thing. I hope it works. I hope he figures it out. But that's for him to die on. He's going to play a 3-4-3. We knew that very well when we signed him. The hierarchy knew that very well. They knew that this is the way he plays. This is what he does. And I don't even necessarily agree with the notion that he should change it, because it's not who he is. He plays a 3-4-3. What he needs to figure out is how to get it to operate the most effective. Because for me, if he's not playing a 3-4-3 and he's playing a 4-3-3, or he's playing a 4-4-2, or he's playing anything besides his formation, then we basically he shouldn't be here. We should just replace him at that point, because he's not playing the football that he plays. Rajad says, if Ruben can, will he start Leach and Martinez? I don't know, Rajad. It's a good question. It's one that probably has gone a lot under the radar because he's been missing. And, we haven't really, he's sort of been in the background. I think it's a really good question, because I don't know what I think he will. I feel like he would, because I think Licha is good at building out of the back and playing out of the back and progressing the ball forward. And I think he wants that. well, I know that it goes for his system, but I think that's what something he's looking for. I also think he probably appreciates Martinez's mentality and attitude. He is a fighter. He does have that sort of fiery character about him as well. Um, so I feel like, if he stays fit and he's doing his thing in training, and he's, performing to the level that he's supposed to be performing, I think that he probably would be looking to start him, for sure. I don't think he wants to get rid of him in any chance, but there's many factors surrounding that. He needs to stay fit. He needs to be available. He needs to come back first. Just, put it that way. But he should be back soon, because I think they said that the last thing I read about Lisandro Martinez is something along the lines of that he was expected to miss about the first 3 matches of the season, which we've already done, and we're about to be at the fourth. So he should be back soon. I would expect, hopefully, in the next couple weeks or so, we should be seeing Lisandro, at least, at the very least, back on the bench, and coming back and being involved, which is good because now we have another option that we can use, and a lot more rotation. And it'll be good to see Leacher back, because I actually miss him. I think he's very good. He just needs to be able to stay fit, and not have these, long-term injuries. Lucky Singh says 22. Lucky says we have plans for big teams. We will match them each. And Lucky says this game, Benjamin Sesko will get the go-ahead. I hope so. Joshua Xerxes. I forgot about Xerxes. Patrick Dorgu, Bruno Fernandez, Ugarte, Maz, Mateus Delit, Aiden Heaven, Euro. Yeah, see, I kind of like that back line as well. Like Euro, Heaven, and Delit. I like that. I like that back line. I like Maz even as a one of the center backs. I think he plays very good there. I miss Maz a bit. You think he's gonna go with Ugarte and Bruno in the midfield? I don't know. I mean, he seems set on Bruno and Cass as the partnership. I think he's doing that for a couple of reasons. I think because Bruno runs around a lot, and I think he uses that to kind of cover Cass a little bit with certain areas of more of the pitch. But also, I think he's doing it because of experience. Bruno is Premier League experienced and has been our best signing post Fergie and our most impactful. And then Cass is just as seasoned, experienced veteran. I think he's trying to have probably as much experience as he can, while trying to mix in a little bit of sort of the new signings. That's why he's going with the likes of. I think that's why we're seeing Bruno and Cass there. I think that's why you're seeing the likes of Mount and Cunha and Buemo, and he's being a bit hesitant with Sesko. I mean, even Dorgu kind of lost his spot last time, and he put Delo out there instead. And he put Diallo instead, because Dorgu came from the Serie A in the middle of the season last season. So I think he's trying to use the experience he has while kind of teething in some of the newer players that need to get themselves situated. So like he says, this game will look draw, then we get the win. You think that's what's going to happen? I think it should be a close match. It should be a close match. I think that. I don't expect any one team. I mean, listen, it's a derby. Anything can happen. I don't feel like any one team is going to blow the other team out of the water. I think it'd be a close match. I'm kind of feeling a 2-1 here. And I think United will do it. So, yeah, it's fine. I'm not gonna. Rajat says Delit is captain type center back. I mean, he is. He was. In terms of he was captain other places before he came to us, and he has experience at his young age. He's played a lot of Champions League matches. He played for Bayern Munich. They won some things. He won some things at Ajax as well. So, and he was also at Juventus as well. So he's very mature, and I think he's very developed for his age at his place. And I think he can be for sure. He can be captain. But obviously Bruno will have to go before that happens. Bruno Fernandez, Kobe Mainu, interesting. Okay with that. Well, but this is what I'm saying. So like I don't know what you're gonna do. I don't know what he's gonna do in that sense. Yeah. See, when you tell me Bruno next to Kobe, I feel like this is why people want Baleba. This is why people are asking for a midfielder. Because when you say Bruno and Kobe, that midfield doesn't sound like it's going to work very well. That center mid partnership, which is why I think he's doing Bruno and he's doing Cass, is it's a little bit more yin and yang sort of thing. It's a little bit more like Cass is more defensive, Bruno's a bit more attacking. It should maybe balance itself out somehow. You have one more defensive, one more attacking. When you do Bruno and Meno, it's like Bruno's more attacking. Mainu's not like a defensive specialist. He's more of an all around box to box, or I would say he can be like that. People would say he's better off in the 10. So from there, you're saying you're going from one defensive, one attacking to one attacking, and then one either, all around or middle or another attacking. So I don't think that combination works. I don't even necessarily think the Bruno and Casemiro thing necessarily works. So I don't even think that you can necessarily do Bruno and Kobe. Maybe you can, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like from the thought of it, it doesn't give me the feeling that I feel okay with it. It gives me the feeling that it would probably get exposed, and the only way you could probably be able to do something about that is if you put Kobe there and you had next to Casemiro, or you had Kobe next to Ugarte. Um, so we'll see, because I think Bruno has the potential to get pushed up this match, which would mean that either Casemiro and Ugarte are playing next to each other, or Kobe and one of them too. I mean, I would expect Cass to be starting there. So it's a bit of an interesting. It's going to be interesting to see who he picks, and hopefully he gets it right, and hopefully it works out. So yeah. Kobe Mainu, Sesko, starts, manager will stay tomorrow. Well, that's another thing too, actually, and you make a good point. I mean, he could put Kobe as the 10. He could keep Bruno next to Cass in the midfield. And he could just have Kobe up there. And have Kobe and Buemo and Sesko playing together. I mean, this is the thing. Like, this is why I sort of like this sort of thing from like our current situation with our current setup and the players we have. I do like this aspect of the fact that we could probably do 5 to 6 different things. I mean, you could put Xerxes up there, in a replacement for Cunha at the 10. You could do a number of things. I like it. I think it's a good thing to have. I think it makes us flexible. But we need to, we need to be getting it right. We need to be getting the call, especially for the match on Sunday. We need to be getting the call. We need to be getting we need to pick the right players for that match, and have them perform. So I think it's a good thing to have, but also, you still need to make the correct call on which players is 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 going to be playing or starting. Um, yeah, I mean it's a good point, Box. that, there's no Europe and there's no League Cup, especially the League Cup, because the League Cup, you could have argued at some stage, we definitely could have used that to give the youngsters some time. We're clearly out of that in the first, round, which is kind of fucked the aspect of that, because now it's just like, well, we got the Prem and we got the FA Cup and we got no Europe, and now the FA Cup is gonna have to be taken. I mean, they were gonna take it seriously, obviously, but now it has to be taken even more seriously, because that's the only chance that we got at winning a trophy. If we're gonna do that this season, and also it's another opportunity for us to get into Europe if we don't get a place in through the league. We could get one through the FA Cup. So we have even less matches now, and there's probably less opportunities, because these matches, in the FA Cup and the Premier League, like every single one of them is basically like a final. Like, we need to win and we need to play our strongest team. Which is why I'm saying, if we get to a point, hopefully our team clicks and we actually, if there's a situation where we are winning a match, let me paint the picture. We're home. We're playing, I don't know. We're playing Burnley again. Wait, were we home already? Yeah, so we can't be home. All right, we're home. We're playing whoever. We're playing Nottingham Forest. We're winning 3-0, and it's like the 78th minute. I think at that point in time, there's zero excuses if you have them on the bench. If they're not on the bench, it's a different story. But if they happen to be on the bench, I don't think there's any excuse as to why you can't take two of those kids on the bench, chuck them on for the last 10, 12, 13, 14 minutes of that match. Let them get some experience, let them run around. 3-0, we're at home, we're comfortable, we're not going to lose the match. Not going to lose the match by putting two of them on. I think that's fine. I think most of the circumstances are going to end up in, yeah, we're not in that position. We need to win this match. We need the points. It's a tight match. It's close. And we're going to have to use our experienced players, because we can't take a shot on these kids in those circumstances. So, yeah. Axe says he's obviously taking the risk of being relegated, our worst manager in history of EPL. Right now he is. Right now he is. Right now he is. But well, what if he turns it around? Because he can unworst manager himself. He can if he goes on a run and he actually sort of restores the record. So yeah, currently he is our worst manager, record wise, in EPL. I don't think he's taking the risk of being relegated, because I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen last season. I don't think we're going to get to the point with him as manager in charge. I don't think we'll get to the point where we were last season. We won't certainly be in the position in terms of the table. We won't. It'll still be bad. Like, we could still be 10th or something like that, but we're not going to be as far down as we were. We're not going to be close to relegation. That's not going to happen. I think a lot of that was very circumstantial, with the way things went last season. I mean, if you look at it from beginning to end, the whole thing was a mess. They didn't know if they wanted to keep or fire Ten Hag. They kept him on, I guess by giving him the benefit of the doubt. It didn't start well. They decided and said that they made a mistake. They got rid of him. They got Ruben in. Ruben plays totally different. He's also inexperienced in the Prem, also in the middle of a season with 3 matches a week. A lot of time for the training ground. He also didn't really want to come in the middle of the season, because like most managers know, it's not an ideal time to come in and start. And he wanted to start in the summer. He came in, he took that chance anyway, and things were just a mess from there, and nothing ever really settled. I think this year we should be more settled, for sure. And there should be more stability. So I don't think he's taking a risk of being relegated, because I think it's literally basically almost impossible for us to get relegated just because of the money we spend. If we didn't spend money, I think at some point I would say, okay, there's a possibility we get relegated. But I think just solely based off of the money we spend, I think it's basically near impossible. So I don't think that's gonna happen. Rajat says he'll take 2-2. If we get a draw, it's not the worst result, right? If we get a draw, we're away from home. It's a derby against City. You walk away from it, you move on to the next one. It is what it is. It's a draw. It's, not a bad result. Not a great result. It's not a bad result. You could walk away from it and be okay with it. What we don't want is obviously to lose. So what we do want is to win. So yeah, it could be a draw. Could be a draw. I would say it leans more towards a 2-2 than a 1-1 for sure. So I expect there to be goals. The one thing that that's worrying me about the match. And I can't get the statistic because my phone is dead and not charging. So turning on. I will tell you in a second, accurately, but off the top of my head, one of the things that's a bit worrying is in the last 10 matches, I believe City has a current streak versus us in, or I don't know if it's for themselves or no, it's for themselves. So City, here, I'll tell you right now, because I'm rambling and I'm making sense. Let me just pull it up. By the way, guys, if you didn't hit the like button, can you please smash the like button for me, so that the channel and the video gets pushed out there. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. While I pull this up. So, where are we? So, what I was saying was, because I saw this before. So, team streaks specifically for City, not against us, just in general. They have been the first team to score in the match 9 out of their 10 last matches. They have won the first half 9 out of their 10 last matches. And they individually are on a streak of 6 out of the 7 of their last matches. They have the game has gone over, or there's been over 2.5 goals in the matches they played. And that's that, or those streaks are ones that concern me, because they've been concerning me, and I keep saying this and it keeps happening. So maybe I should just stop saying it, or maybe we should fucking, do something about it and fix it. But we are away from home. We are playing in a derby. And in general, our football team, what we cannot do, because it keeps happening, and we need to stop it because it's fucking us over in many games, and it happened in the Arsenal match, we cannot concede first, and especially we cannot concede first on a dumb, stupid mistake or an error, because it kills the team. It kills the vibe every single time. That goal that we conceded versus Arsenal, that goal killed us. And we lost the match because of it. Because it hurt our game plan. It hurt the style of the match, because Arsenal went up, and then all they had to do was do what they're very good at doing, which is defending and being a very good defense, and they are. And us, we are a team that's trying to find our goals. We're doing better in creating chances, but we're still struggling to convert the chances. So as a team that is playing away from home, and that is trying to find how to get the attack to click and actually convert the chances that we're making, it is counterintuitive for us to concede an early goal, especially if it's created by our own doing. Listen, if somebody shoots a worldie and they shoot a worldie and they score a worldie, there's nothing you can do about the fucking worldie. You just got to get on and move and continue with the match and keep going. But if we're playing a match and, the goalkeeper comes out and one of our players doesn't realize and he goes to pass it back to the goalkeeper and he kicks the ball into the net or he kicks the ball short and gives, the opposition a breakaway and they score off of that. I mean, we made that and we got to stop doing that. And so that stat concerns me because I think we need to do whatever we can to keep it, even if we don't score, we need to keep it as tight as possible. We need to like I would rather have it, obviously be like 40 minutes in and it's 0-0. Because if we give up a goal, like in the first 8 minutes of the match, I think it just makes our jobs on the pitch and the match much more harder. And we're already in a position where we're not the strongest and we struggle in areas. So we need to do ourselves a favor and make sure that we're not conceding stupid, dumb early goals. And we can't concede stupid, dumb goals in general. So yeah, that's the one thing I always keep my eye on it, and somehow we always manage to do it. So I'm going to say it again. When we go to this match on Sunday, it's going to be the one thing that I'm going to be really looking for is to see how much we can actually hold out. And if we're able to, for example, like if we get to the 30-minute mark, depending on how the match goes as well, but if we get to the 30-minute mark, I'll feel a bit more confident because I'll be like, okay, we made it 30 minutes in. We didn't concede one of these stupid shit goals that we've somehow managed to concede in a lot of games. So we're doing okay in that front. Now we got to go and push on this front. You know what I mean? So we'll see like how that goes. Max says, remember when Eric Ten Hag won his FA Cup, people had the attitude of this is not a real trophy. Now we would do anything to win the FA Cup and get a spot in European football. But the people that say it's not a real trophy, I mean, I don't really understand it because it's literally the second largest competition in England. And I know it's not the Premier or the Champions League, and those are obviously higher, but it's still a trophy, and it's good to win those things. So I never said that. I don't agree with the people that say things like that. But I'm going to be fair at the same time. We would do anything to win the FA Cup. But right now, and more so, I think people still sort of feel like that. Like they'll take the FA Cup and they'll celebrate it. But really, if that FA Cup didn't guarantee a European spot, it would mean a lot less. At this at this point in football. So I feel like the whole FA Cup thing is really just about, I mean, I said it before. I said we got to take it more seriously because it's a chance to get back into Europe. I didn't say it's because it's a piece of silverware and I like to see us win it because we've won it and we want to go higher than that. So, but I understand the importance of the team being in Europe. So it comes to a point where now the European football has become more important than some trophies, unfortunately. But that's just football in general. That has nothing to do with necessarily our football club. I mean, obviously there's football clubs out there that they haven't won any trophies or they don't win trophies, so winning the FA Cup would be a huge deal to them. It's different. But yeah, I mean, I want to see the team. I don't want to be a cup team. I want the team to go past that. I want the team to be challenging for the Prem and ultimately winning it again. I want the team to be in the Champions League and actually doing well in the competition and going far, and also maybe potentially one day winning it again. So yeah, really, it's not so much about necessarily winning the FA Cup to say we have a trophy. It's I just view it as a moment right now. I think the most important thing is somehow we managed to get this football club back into Europe, whether that's through the table or through the FA Cup and winning that thing. So, um, X says he needs to go to sleep. Goodbye, everyone, except for Lyle. Well, Lyle's not here, so um, we'll see you later, X. Lucky says, I think players now backline we want shut out, get ball straight, our attacking line. Well, we're doing better to play out of the back. We are. We are doing better. We have improved in that sense. I think on Sunday will be a bigger. I mean, we did well against Arsenal to do it, and I think on Sunday it's going to be another big test because it's one thing to do it against smaller teams and stuff like that, but City is known for pressing. They're known for their passing as well, and their style of play, and so is Arsenal. So I think it's a decently good test to test again. It's sort of on a different level. So let's see how well we do against a team like City, and we're away from home, and we're going to be playing in the empty hat. So somebody's put out a potential MUFC lineup face City on Sunday. What do you guys think of this? I think somebody pretty much already said it. So they're thinking Lemons goal, Euro, right center back, Delit center back, Shaw left center back, Ahmad right wing back, Casemiro center mid, Mainu center mid, Dorgu left wing back, and Buemo 10, Bruno 10, and Sesko up top. I think it's a very good lineup. I think it's a formidable lineup. Again, the question in the middle is one that's going to be interesting because I think you can do a couple things. You can push Bruno up to that 10. You could keep Bruno next to Casemiro. You could put Maino in that 10. You could not put Maino there, keep Maino on the bench, and you could put Xerxes there. So there's a few different things. I mean, even Ahmad, you could put Maz there. So, I don't know exactly what he's going to do. That lineup sounds pretty good on paper as well. It sounds pretty good. I mean, you could even put Maino and Ugarte. I don't think that's going to happen, but you can if you really wanted to. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds decent. It sounds decent on paper. I mean, some people think that, Mainu should be the one in the 10 and keep Bruno next to Casemiro. So, yeah, this is the thing. You could do many different options with it. And this is what I'm trying to say, like, before. Like, when people say that Ruben only plays one way, or that he doesn't take risks, this is where I disagree. Because I think there's so many different options. There's so many different pairings that you can make, and based on what players you pick to play with in that system, the system plays different. Like, it has the same lineup. It's always going to be a 3-4-2-1. But if you take one team and you line it up one way, and you take the other team and you put them side by side, like, you will say, like, this team is going to play a bit more like this. They're going to play a bit more attacking, a bit more defensive. This team has the ability to maybe play better on in the transitions, or maybe this team is better to counterattack, or maybe this team is better to, cross the ball or whatever. So I think that's why, with the way he has it set up, it's all about who he picks, and who's partnered with who. And that determines how he's approaching the game. And then when he makes changes, it also affects how the team, plays on the pitch as well. So, I lost my thing. So, Lucky says, my friend, first we wanted to play safe, which correct, then go left side, then create open pass shot. Well, I don't think we should be playing safe necessarily, though. Um, we should be playing smart, not safe. We should be playing smart, but we should be playing with intent, and we should be playing with we should be playing with intensity, um, and trying to create as many opportunities as possible and score as many goals as possible, and be threatening and put pressure on the opposition. I don't think we should necessarily be playing safe. I think we need to pick up the speed a little bit more. We need to be a little bit more faster. We need to be a little bit more cutthroat when we have the ball. Be a little bit more savage. Um, yeah, Onana has been announced in Trabzonspor colors. So yeah, I'm just checking to see if there's any other news. Player that many of us have probably forgotten about. Not disrespectful way, but because we haven't seen him, he hasn't been talked a lot about. But Tyrell Malacia, who's still at the football club, was supposedly supposed to get a loan move to Upaspor, which is a Turkish team. And according to Pete Hall, apparently it is on the verge of collapse. So not a good one, because I mean, he's not playing football for him, but also his value is just going down. And we don't need him on our books, and we don't need him in the team. There's no spot for him. So best option would have been for him to go and play, let him get that loan, and maybe, I don't know what his contract's on. I don't know if it's about to be up. Might be up soon, but yeah, maybe we could have gotten some money. But I mean, he doesn't get loaned out. He's basically not going to play any significant way, and I don't see how you get any sort of anything for him after that. So let's see. So Onana to Trabzonspor on loan until the end of the season is official. So he's done and dusted. Thank you. And we'll deal with you next summer. We will deal with you next summer. Good luck over there. Make some saves. Have somebody want to buy you. So, because we don't want you back at the club. Over. It's over. But I think it's the time that we can sink City. They are vulnerable. We are vulnerable as well, but they are vulnerable, and that hasn't always been the case in the past. You know, especially the periods, the most recent periods. I mean, they've been in very strong positions. We've been in a position where we were struggling, very much, and we had to go play them multiple times through a season, and they were very tough. I think now we're on a more level playing field, and we can kind of stick it to them. I mean, if we beat them at their home, that's three L's in a row for City and Pep. In the first four matches, and you're losing a derby, to United, so we can cause them some damage. We can cause them some turmoil. Um, we could put the trident through their crest a little bit. Make that ship sink or leak water. So let's see if we can do it. We get the job done. I think we can. I think we have a very good opportunity. I feel kind of confident about it, and also because Ruben has a decently good record against Pep. So oh, um so Amorim's overall record against Pep Guardiola is he's got 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss. So they have versed each other or played each other a total of 5 times, and Amorim has only lost once. against Pep Guardiola. Um, so you know, um, and that was in the beginning of his tenure at Sporting. Is the loss? Um, it was February 15th, 2022. Sporting played Manchester City in the Champions League. Sporting was home. They lost 5-0 at home. Literally, they played each other again in March. City were home. I don't know what the circumstances of the match were, but City were home. Sporting were away. They drew 0-0, and then November 5th, 2024. Sporting played City in the Champions League once again. Sporting beat City 4-1. And then obviously he came to us right after that. And he had to play. We played City. City was home. We were away. December 15, 2024. And we won 2-1. And then we played City at home. Or we were home to City in April last season when we had that disaster of a season. And we drew 0-0. So he has a good record against Pep as well. So I'm backing the manager to go and do a job tomorrow. And we'll see how it goes. Chad says, what player do you think will be labeled a troublemaker first? They're already leaning to make Manu that guy. Well, but what do you say they? Who do you mean they? You mean by the fans? You talking about the club? You talking about like the manager in specific, Chad, or you talking about just like in general? Because I mean, I get what you. Because from a standpoint, I understand. From a standpoint, from a fan point, I understand what you're saying. Because I've seen some people saying this sort of thing about Manu, where that if he's asking for these wages and he wants to leave and this and that, he can go and blah blah blah, and he's not bigger than the club. And I don't think really any of that stuff is true. I think Manu is still on a very low wage. The contract has not been renewed. And I think he's entitled to ask for what he wants to ask. The point is you have to come to some sort of agreement. I think the media jumps on this a little bit because he is a young black British kid that plays for Manchester United. So I think they jump on it and make it a worse situation. And if there's ever some sort of a hole or an area to squeeze in, some sort of a story about it, or to fan the flames a little bit more, I think they jump at that opportunity for sure. So I don't think at this current moment in time, I don't think Ruben has a problem with Kobe. There's one or two things that make me feel like he might, but I think generally I don't think he has a problem, because I think everybody that Ruben has had a problem with is gone. So I think if he actually had a problem with Kobe, I don't think Kobe would be here. And they probably would have found a reason for it. So I think I'll say this a little bit more generally, Chad. Who's going to be labeled the troublemaker? Whoever becomes a troublemaker, I think. If they're not doing things that they're not doing the things that they should be doing, if they're not conducting themselves properly, if they're not performing well, then I think whoever that is, I think they'll probably get labeled as a troublemaker. Listen, we as fans don't get access to everything that happens. We watch them on the pitch, we get some news by some sources. We don't know. Some things are lies, some things are credible sometimes. We don't get the whole picture. It's not like being the manager where, you see them on the pitch, you see them in training. kind of basically what's going on in their general life. You don't know every aspect, but if your player broke curfew and went to a club, you're gonna find out about it if you're the manager. Somebody's gonna spot him. You have eyes and ears everywhere. You know things. I think these players. I think this group is pretty well rounded. Um, I feel like compared to what we had, I don't think there should be. You never know, but I just feel like there shouldn't be really any off-field issues that have leaked onto the pitch like in previous times. So I think I don't know if they'll be labeled necessarily as a troublemaker, but maybe just somebody that's not cutting it. They gotta perform. But they are targeting Kobe a bit. I think they're exposing the situation because that whole thing of, well, he's not really playing, and maybe his agent was putting some stuff out and trying to put pressure on the club. And again, people don't like agents. I don't necessarily like agents, but at the same time, I understand it is their job to do what they have to do, um, and what they think is best to do for their client or their person. That is literally their job. So if their job is to try and put pressure on Manchester United to try and make a decision of whether that is to get him more involved in the first team or to get him a loan out so he can play, if the agent has to go and leak stuff or go to the media and put some stories out, I don't like it. I understand it though. I get it. I get it. But Chad says there's always a leak coming out of the camp from Ormstein and Romano. Are they connected to the actual rats of the club? Hmm, I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. It's just, see, well, the thing is, Manchester United is very big. You know, there's a lot of people that work there, and if it's not, directly somebody that works there, might be somebody that's related to somebody that works there. I think leaks are very hard to kind of stop, but when you talk about maybe there's always a leak out of the camp from Ornstein or Romano. I'd probably say the most likely thing is that it's probably the player's agent. Um, Most likely, because again, like that's their job. The agent's job is to stir shit up or do things for the player. Um, and I guess it also depends on what kind of agent you have. Some agents out there, and it depends who it is, because sometimes the agent is your brother. Sometimes the agent is, the person's father. So it might be a little bit more personal, might be a little bit more close. But I think some players, they might have an agent where the agent is doing shit for their client without necessarily filling in the player. And that's kind of the point of the agent. They're supposed to be. It's kind of like my moderators or having a moderator. Like I give the moderator certain permissions. I give the moderator certain trust to do things for me. They don't have to like contact me and be like, "Hey, do you think I should, mute this person or ban this person?" They have the authority to do it. They can do these things without telling me. They can then notify me after, but they don't have to. It's not like they have to message me before they do everything. They can take the action and then be like, by the way, I was working on this or I did this after, and I'm letting you know now. And agents work in that way as well. I mean, Kobe might have a conversation with his agent, right? But the agent might be doing some things in the background. And then after, a certain period, he calls up Kobe and be like, hey, listen, so I was pushing a couple of these stories. I'm trying to get you, this angle, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And shit like that happens. So, um, does baking from the manager affect confidence? Remember when Draymond Green hit Poole? The problem was the leak, not the action. Um, it's very easy to just blame the agent and not the staff. Well, I mean, I'm just saying it could be the agent because it fits more into their job description. But it could very well be staff. You know what I mean? It could be. Oh, you meant baking. Does backing from the manager affect confidence and performance? Oh yeah, I mean it has to. It's like your boss. You know what I mean? I don't know what you do for work or what job you got, but literally anywhere and anything. I mean, you go all the way back to when you were in school or something. You had a teacher, and the teacher like wasn't encouraging to you. Maybe said things to you or didn't like give off the feeling like they think that you're capable or worthy of doing something. You're probably less inclined to give a shit, right? Like if I had, I don't think I've ever really had maybe one or two, but I think back like if I was in school, if I had a teacher and I had to go there every day, and I was there for 8 hours, and that teacher basically was just like, "You're fucking, you're hopeless. Um, you're not going to amount to anything, and you're pretty much useless." I don't think I'm going to go into that class and be like, "Yeah." I mean, some people they use it to get a kick up their ass, but I think a lot of people it ends up tuning them out because it's just like it's a bit demoralizing. You're just like, yeah, like fuck off. Like you know, the same thing like with the job. If you have a job and you go in and your boss doesn't show like that they necessarily like believe in you, um, I think generally it tends to have a negative effect. But in some circumstances, it fires people's on to go and prove them wrong. And it actually propels them. But I think that's the less. I think that happens less often. It does happen for sure because we've seen it, and I've seen it. But I think it's less likely. I think generally, if you're in a space and somebody doesn't necessarily back you, um, properly, it definitely does affect your confidence and performance. I think it negatively drops it down, and doesn't make it a good place. So, um, I just I would like I wish we could know the 100% truth because that whole situation still bothers me because there was just a couple too many things. I don't like the fact that I think for somebody like Kobe Manu again, and this is where I disagree with Axe on things because he keeps saying he can't fit Mano in, he can't fit Mano in. Um, I mean, again, I would say I like Kobe Manu very much. I think he could be a very talented and skilled player. And he could definitely be a starter. But just because he's Kobe Manu and he's a young kid from the youth academy doesn't mean that he should just automatically be starting anyway. So I don't agree with the fact that when he says he can't fit him in. Where then I do agree with that statement is that if Kobe can't start or Kobe's not starting, Kobe needs to be getting at least 15 minutes as a sub. Like it's one thing if you say, he needs to develop a little bit more. There's some other options that are a bit more developed, a bit more ready. And I choose to go with them because that's what I want. That's fine. You can make that decision. And I don't necessarily have a problem with it. But then, if those players aren't getting the job done or they need a rest, there's no way you can't tell me that Kobe shouldn't be coming on for 15, 20, 25 minutes or so be it. So, yeah, it just, that, now he's played, he's played, but the match at Fulham was at Fulham, um, where he didn't get subbed on, not even a minute. I was just like, I don't. That's weird. I don't agree with that. Um, I don't agree with that. I found that strange. I was like, I don't believe how we're gonna play a match and he's not gonna get even 5 minutes on the pitch. Um, that and the whole thing of that, he seemed very Ruben Amorim. I'm saying he seemed very intent on turning Kobe into a 10, and this is where I think he's confused. I don't know if he's confused Kobe himself, um, and the fans, or maybe just the fans. But Ruben seemed very intent last season on trying to say that Kobe can play 10. He should play 10, and it seemed like that's where he was looking to basically develop him as. And then we started this season, and now there's too many options at 10, and then Kobe apparently is fighting with Bruno for one spot, because I think, like we talked about before, I think if you do Bruno and Casemiro, I think it definitely doesn't work. And if you take Casemiro out, you're not putting Kobe in. Because if you take Casemiro out, the replacement is Ugarte, and that's it. So that means that the replacement for Bruno would be Kobe, and that's it. Um, and then so it went from like looking like we were gonna push him up into a 10 and develop him there, into now he's gone back from the 10 because we have too many options there, and back into this midfield role. So I think it's a bit weird. Um, it's a bit weird because I don't think you could sit there and say there's no way that he doesn't rate the kid in terms of the kid has ability, for sure, and he has potential. I don't think it's that he's like, yeah, this kid ain't good. Um, but when it comes down to specific qualities, he might not have it at this moment in time. So he prefers him less. Um, I don't know. Um, Magnifico's back says still live. Damn you, beast. Yeah, we're still live. We're about to get off though soon. A couple minutes, but Chad says someone said thank God City or Liverpool didn't buy Bruno, because just imagine what they could have been. Not champions, maybe, is my answer. I think they probably would have. They probably still would have been champions. Again, I don't agree with this sentiment of. I think if you took Bruno and you put him in City or you put him in Liverpool, um, in those teams, I don't think one player makes or breaks a team. If you have a team, and their teams was, they make differences. Don't get me wrong, but I think the way their teams are set up, I think if you just put Bruno in there, I think they probably would have just been just fine. I don't think they would have been. I don't think they would have been much different in terms of what they accomplished. Um, so yeah, because the rest of the team is good. I think when you have a solid team like that, if you pull one guy out and you put another guy in there, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. Um, the team should probably operate more or less about the same. It also depends what player and what position as well. But I think, yeah, I mean, like obviously, like if you took Salah out of Liverpool and you put, I don't fucking know, um, depends on the level. If you took Salah out and you put in, can't even think of a winger. Um, yeah, if you took Salah and you put in Sancho, it's fucking cooked. You know what I mean? But if you took Salah out and you put in, I don't know, somebody that's high performing, close enough, I think they'd be all right. So, um, Magnifico says Kobe is one of the main reasons we're out of the cup. He played 90 minutes, and in the first 45, he failed to control the game. His tempo is passing there. Well, I mean, he was part of that. Yep. I mean, you are right. And My problem with that performance is that was on the brink, not the brink. That was right after the whole story about him, I guess, wanting a loan or something for not playing. And then, like, literally 2 days later, we went to go play that match, and then he started him. Um, and I'm not making any excuses for him because you're absolutely correct. He played 90 minutes. The first 45 minutes, him, not only him, the rest of the whole team was absolutely atrocious. Um, but I watched that match, and he was nothing like the Kobe that I've been describing for a year now, or over a year. Um, every literally video that we probably have on this channel, um, I usually always say the same thing, that Kobe is, you know, well rounded. He's very good in terms of composure, and he plays, or he was playing that position like he was, you know, 10-year experience. And that's how I'm used to him playing. That match, um, in the Carabao Cup, he looked the total opposite. So I do agree as well. Magnifico. I'm a fan of Kobe too. All he needs to do is talking on the pitch. I say that for every player. It's not special to anybody. It's literally not. I don't. I'm old school like that. I just want my players. This is why some of these players I get agitated with, like the whole Garnacho thing. He started getting more and more on my nerves because I like the kid. I thought he had potential, but it got to a point where I felt like every day I'd go on social media and there'd be some stupid ass fucking post from the kid, and I'm just like, bro, I get it. Like, life is a pain in the ass sometimes. There's situations that you're in. You feel like you're not getting what you deserve. You feel like their circumstances are bullshit. You might be getting blamed for shit that you don't feel is your fault or whatever. Or I get it, but just like at some point, you need to shut up and just go on the pitch, bro. Because when you go on the pitch and you do the things that you gotta do and that you're supposed to do, nobody can say shit to you. Nobody can say shit to you. And if they do say shit to you, they just look like a fucking hater or a moron, and nobody takes them seriously. So, like, I said the same thing when Maguire was captain and Ali was here. You know, how many times did Maguire come out and put up social media posts talking to the fans, or, going and basically apologizing, like, literally after every match for making fuck ups? I'm like, I just got to a point, and I'm like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the guy, but at just some point, I was just like, Harry, just please, just shut the f up, shut up. I don't want to hear you. I don't want to hear you. I just want to see you go on the pitch, play a 90-minute match where you don't fuck up and you actually put in a good performance, and we can continue. I don't want to hear you giving statements talking about we have to do better and we got to go again. I don't want to see, you know, fucking. I don't want to see a post on Instagram of a cloud that looks like fucking Ruben Amorim, and you put a fucking X over it, or you put a laughing face or some shit. Like, I don't know, some of these kids, they're doing like subliminal messaging. We don't need to see that shit. Literally, some of them gotta get it through their heads and be like, yo, you might be right. You might be 100% correct in being aggrieved. You might feel like no matter what you do, you can't please this manager. And it's very fucking frustrating. And I get that. But where you're not going to win is doing dumb shit on social media. Because at some point, people get tired of it. And they're just like, dude, you make all this fuss on the internet. You're doing weird shit. You're moving shady. And then when you go on the pitch, you're not getting your job done. So you're just hitting yourself with a double-edged sword. So, Chad says, how can he do his talking on the pitch if he's on the bench? Well, listen, you're on the bench. Again, I keep saying, he can be on the bench. I will vehemently come out and I will disagree and I will argue against Ruben if you can't find how to put him in even for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, if you can't get him playing for that, there's a bigger we got a bigger problem. There's a bigger issue going on. So he doesn't have to be starting, but the point is everybody goes in the same sort of certain circumstance. Casemiro didn't play for like 4 or 5 months straight. Actually, everybody was like, Casemiro is done. Casemiro happened to get an opportunity because of through injury, and Casemiro being Casemiro, because he's an older, more mature, and he's more experienced. What did he do? Was Casemiro going on social media making stupid fucking posts? No. He just kept his head down and he kept quiet, and he was handed an opportunity, like what happens in football all the time, because somebody gets injured, somebody gets suspended, somebody, you know, fucking acts out of line or misses training or some shit, and now it's your turn. And he got that. He came in, he played good, he kept the respect of the manager, and now Casemiro's playing like every fucking game. So, you know, if I'm there, I'm saying, well, like, look, you know, I'm not in a position where I think it's fair, and I think, you know, this situation is kind of bullshit because I feel like I'm doing a lot, and the manager ain't taking shit into consideration. But it'd be like at the same time, I mean, look at fucking Casemiro. Like the guy was done, and he's got his way back. So why can't I? I could definitely do it. I got to be a bit more patient, but you know, listen, you're not a starter. He's got to come off the bench. He's got to get things, but he can't throw toys, or him or anybody else. They can't throw the toys out the pram and just be like, oh, he's never gonna pick me. Fuck it, I give up. You know what I mean? Because if you do that, then you know you're not at the right place. Yeah, Chad says you're right. Grealish won the treble. This is what I'm saying. Like Grealish shit. Um, you know, at some point when you build the team, you build the team. I mean, you know, obviously there's the likes of, if you have the Ronaldo or you have the Messi, you know, Salah to Liverpool is instrumental. You would have to get somebody close to the level. They can't be far away. But like if you if you have the team for the most part, I mean, your team, if your team's a team, your team shouldn't fall apart if you lose one player. They should be able to carry on, because then you don't really have a team, right? Um Baz is here. Baz, what's up, buddy? Bruno walks in any of the top four and he wins multiple titles. What are we talking about here? I don't know. We're just having a discussion. Magnificent. When he's played this season, has he played well? Grimsby, no. And Burnley, when he came on, we lost control at halftime. No, you're right. You're right. I think part of that is I don't think he's focused. I think that's what I was trying to get onto before I got carried away. I think he's not he seems unfocused right now at the moment. And what I'm trying to say is he needs to basically get his head a little bit straight back on, block out all the other external bullshit, and just focus on the fact of being like, this isn't the position I want to be in, and this isn't the position I'm gonna stay in, and just fucking fight, man. Just fucking fight. Because I think, I truly believe, whatever the circumstances now, I think if he shows up every day and he puts in his best effort and he's fucking locked in, if he's locked in and he's showing up day in day out, there is no way in my mind that he doesn't get an opportunity one way or another. And then all it is once that opportunity comes to him, he's got to take it. So I just think he needs to lock. I don't think I think he's lost a bit of focus with the whole situation of he wants to be playing more. I think he's a bit upset. There was the whole thing of, you know, he was trying to push a loan. It didn't go his way, so I feel like he's a bit unsettled right now. And somebody at the football club, whether it's a fellow teammate, you know, somebody from the hierarchy, whoever it is, a coach, whatever, somebody's got to somebody's got to make him realize and get him to lock back in because you're right, Magnifico. He hasn't played well, and he's been given sort of these two opportunities, and he hasn't played particularly well. Not as well as we know he can play. And I think he knows that as well. So he just needs to lock in, lock in, stay level headed, and just keep chipping away at it because it'll come. We've seen it a few times. We've seen how. We've also seen the flip side. We've also seen the flip side of how if you don't stay level headed, and you kind of let your emotions take over in a certain aspect, you can fuck everything up. Again, like for example, for me, for Sancho, like I don't know if you guys remember this, but like remember like Sancho couldn't get a chance. Like and Anthony was playing like complete dog shit, and then we actually didn't even have anybody else over there. Um and then like Anthony had that off-field issue with that with the female, with the woman or something. And he couldn't play. It was either that or he got injured. One or the other. So he was out and there was nobody on the right anymore. And literally that happened like 2 or 3 days after Sancho came out and made that, the note and put it on his social media. Now, if he just kept his cool and didn't do that dumb shit, right? In terms of making it public and doing what he did, he probably would have gotten an opportunity to actually play and get the fucking minutes that he wanted, that he said that he felt like he deserved and he wasn't getting. Because there was literally no other option. He was the option. But because he did what he did, he lost that opportunity. Because once he did that, I mean, you know, you're not gonna play. So kind of linking it to Diallo as well. I mean, we've seen Diallo, right? We saw Diallo. Diallo had the Sunderland loan, did very, very well. Came with us, played decently well under Ten Hag, and then disappeared. And Anthony was playing over him, and Anthony was playing like shit, and it was very frustrating because everybody knew it. Our entire fan base was like, Diallo should be starting, Diallo should be playing, Diallo should be getting in over Anthony. Ten Hag refused to do so. Diallo knew it himself. Anthony probably fucking knew it himself as well. And but Diallo, while he was probably frustrated behind the scenes, Diallo just he kept his head. He kept it respectful. Even after Ten Hag got sacked, they asked Diallo about it, and Diallo had nothing but nice words to say. He literally could have been like, "Fuck Ten Hag," for doing that. Like he could have thrown him under the bus because he wasn't even the manager anymore and he got sacked. Like it was a perfect free hit home run. Like everybody was pissed off at Ten Hag. Everybody hated Ten Hag. He just got sacked. And like literally Diallo had a free shot to be like, yeah, I mean like that was, bullshit what he was doing. But he didn't do that. So it's about how you handle yourself, you know? What are you guys talking about? Yeah, he's 20. This is United. You shut up and compete for a place. Yeah, I mean, even anybody. It doesn't even matter how old you are. That's the point. The point is, it doesn't even matter how old you are. You're supposed to, whether you're fucking 28, 31, 20, or 18. Just in general. I mean, not even that this is Man United. Just in general. It's football. It's what you do. It's what happens. You might be starting every fucking week, and then you might end up in a spot where now you're coming off the bench. It's literally the fucking sport. It's the point of the professional sport is you're supposed to be constantly fighting and earning the right. Say I'm the best for this job, um, and so I win this battle. Um, You guys just having your own little battle in there about Bruno while doing this. You guys could do it. I'm not doing it. Yeah, I don't know. Bruno's a very divisive figure. I think it's, you know what I really think it is though. I think it's just in the manner of people, um, styles of football. I think that's what it is. Because even people that I know that aren't, they don't watch the Prem, or they don't, or they're not, you know, they don't watch English league, or they're not a fan of an English team. Like even they have fucking opinions on Bruno Fernandez. And so some of them they say things like Chad, like they say they don't think he's very good. Um, they don't think he's like, top 5 or top 10 midfielder. But then you have other ones that they do think that he's very good. Uh, and I kind of brought it down to, I think it's just all about your preference of a style. I think that's why he's so divisive. Um, because I got a friend that he's a Juventus fan. He says things like Chad. He thinks Bruno's shit. He doesn't think Bruno's very good. But then I got other friends that one's an Inter fan, one's an Inter fan, one's an AC Milan fan. Actually, the other one is a Juventus fan as well, and they think Bruno is good. They think he's a top, like, top midfielder. Top 5, top 10, whatever it is. Um, I think it's just the preference of style, because I get why Chad doesn't rate him, because I know what Chad wants. He wants a more sort of classical, from what the vibes, a more classical, more well grounded. Bruno's a bit erratic. Sometimes he's a bit all over the place. Sometimes he makes sort of erratic decisions. And people that are very strict with their styles of football, they demand um sort of structure in the midfield. And I get it, because the midfield needs to be structured and you need to stay in your position. I get all that. It's just really about, I think, what you prefer in style. So that's what I noticed over the past, it really, it's the people that aren't like Premier League fans, that don't have, like, they're not a fan of Chelsea, or they're not a fan of Liverpool, or they're not a United fan. They're fans of other clubs in other leagues. And even in that aspect, you see the divisiveness of, there's some people, they watch the Serie A, they think he's shit. There's some people that watch the Serie A, they think he's a good player. And I'm like, well, it can't just be that, if it happens with us as United fans, and it also happens in the Prem, because he plays in the Prem, that makes sense, and there's rivals. But then people that watch the Serie A, and then it's divided in that same way as well. Um, it's, it's definitely more about, like, style of play, what you demand from the players that play in that position. Um, Magnifico says we finished 15th because of Ten Hag, and only tried driving a car with 2 flat tires. That's how Ten Hag left this side. Well, I think it was probably it was a combination of things. Really, I keep saying it. I mean, I think it starts with Ineos, Magnifico. I would say, because I think the whole thing, last season was just, it was a cake. Um, what are those cakes that are layered? I forgot what they're called, but the cakes that they got, like, multiple layers to them. I compare it to, it was basically a cake with multiple layers, and it was just multiple different levels of shit. It was a shit cake. It was literally cake compiled out of different levels of different types of shit. And I'm sorry if you're eating, but yeah, pretty much. Because I think it starts with Ineos. I think the fact that there was the indecision of the decision of whether to keep Ten Hag or not. And I mean, Sir Jim said it in the interview. They did that whole review, and they came out of the review and they didn't know whether to keep him or sack him. So they essentially just gave him the benefit of the doubt. I think that was the start of the whole thing being just a fucking train wreck, because they did that. And then I think it goes on to Ten Hag and the rest of the squad, um, because we clearly weren't ready to go from preseason going forward. We started off shit, and Hag couldn't really afford that because the pressure was on him, and he needed a strong start, and he didn't help himself there. And then when you go along, some of the decisions he was making in terms of constantly picking the same players or not giving other players a chance. Example, Marcus Rashford was not producing for him, but kept playing him. We had the situation with Anthony constantly starting over Diallo when it was clear and evident that Diallo was the better performer and Anthony didn't deserve to be starting at that moment in time. And then the results. And the results didn't leave us in a good spot when he got sacked and Ruben came in. And then it goes back to Ineos again because they made the whole decision to go with Ruben. They made the decision saying that they could have done a deal where Ruben came in the summer after May, after the season ended, but they made the decision to bring him in at that moment. And we had to deal with the repercussions of that as well because he's a young guy. He's inexperienced in terms of just football in general. I mean, he hasn't been a manager that long. I was coaching Sporting. He did a very good job there, but it's the Portuguese league when you compare it to the Prem, it's different. And he came in. The team isn't in a good spot. He's got to learn. The players got to learn. You're playing 3 matches a week. You're not getting the training in that you would want. He didn't even necessarily want to come in mid-season because managers just don't prefer that. It's weird. They'd rather just start quietly and freshly from the beginning of a new season so they could have their preseason and all that shit. So I think it was just there was a lot of stuff. I don't think it was just because of Ten Hag. Um, I mean, well, we could be fair as well because if you look at it, um, every player. Am I correct in saying this? Am I actually now? I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna pull up a list. Um, let's just go through this list. Yeah. Um, real quick because I was talking about this the other day with somebody, and I was basically like, if you look at what happened, all the players, or basically almost all of them that we signed while Eric Ten Hag was there, have all been a fucking disaster. Especially the ones prior to Ineos, because I think Ineos was a bit different, but like Anthony crashed and failed. Rasmus crashed and failed. Casemiro has been okay, but we paid a lot of money, and it's not a great signing. It hasn't been horrible. He's been really good sometimes. He hasn't been bad at sometimes. But we paid 70 million euros, and we also pay him 350,000 a week. So for the finances and what we've gotten from him, wasn't a great signing, but he's been okay decently. We signed Mount. That's not working well because he can't stay fit, and while he's been fit, he hasn't played that great. So that hasn't gone well either. Euro, we signed under him, but obviously that was in Ineos one. Lisandro, another one who he was very good. He was looking good, but he's had 2 back-to-back long-term injuries, and it hasn't gone well. So it's been a disaster in a different sense, not necessarily directly in terms of performance on the pitch, but just he's apparently injury prone, and I don't know what's going to happen with him. Andre Onana, we signed, and he was an absolute disaster on the pitch. Ugarte, we signed, but that was under Ineos, and he's been like okay. I don't think he's like been stellar, but I think, you know, especially now, he's somebody that I'm looking for him to step up. This is his second season. He's got to take a step forward. Mateus Delit is on obviously on the Ineos again, and I think he's probably been one of the better signings. Joshua Xerxes was under Ineos, and that's one that, you know, we questioned in the beginning, but he looked to get better last season as the season went on, and he's another one that we're looking at. You know, this is your second season. It's time to step up. But I'm sitting here and I'm just like, a lot of the players, a lot of those players, especially the ones pre Ineos that Ten Hag signed, they have all they have all gone poorly. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. And this is one of the things that I was arguing last time, was that this is one of the things that I was arguing last time, was that I'm like, you know, especially for somebody like Axe. Axe says we're going backwards. You know, I think Ray hasn't been here in a little bit, but I think Ray said that as well. Like, we're going backwards. And I'm like, we're going backwards. But I was like, we weren't going forward under Eric Ten Hag, because where Ten Hag started to where Ten Hag ended by the time he got sacked, we were going backwards already. And that first season squad that we had, he didn't touch that squad. Essentially, he kept basically kept all the players that we already had, and he just bring in a couple and added to it. It was only after that season when he started getting his hands into things and started removing players and bringing in other players and getting rid of some of the players that he got rid of. Is that when we saw that the club started to regress? We went from third to finishing eighth, to then having a season where we were in like 10th and he got sacked and we finished in 15th. So yeah. Emmanuel also made a post. Yeah, I seen that. I missed it at first, but I saw it. I saw people talking about it. Um, I mean, I don't know. I don't want him to do that shit. I hope he stops. It was the first one, and he supposedly said that it was a stretch, that people were stretching, that it didn't really mean it wasn't that deep. Um, so hopefully that's the case, and hopefully he kind of, if that is the case and that is the truth, hopefully he just sort of learned his lesson a little bit on that, and that, you know, he has to be a little bit more careful, because those things will happen, even if, you know, he actually really didn't mean anything by it and there wasn't any sort of like underlying message, in terms of trying to talk shit or whatever. He does have to be careful about those things, because people will pick it up and they will turn something in, you know, they will turn nothing into something. So yeah, example. Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if I even if I'm Cass, if you know, if I'm Casemiro, I'd go to Kobe and I'd tell him, I'd be like, hey, listen, I get it. You know, I've lived the whole career. I've won everything. I've done it all. Um, I know. You know, especially when I was your age, Cass Cass probably went through something similar like that. You gotta gotta like gotta he's gotta go to him and you know, give him some advice. Keep him grounded. I mean, that's job. He's the senior player, yeah. He should be looking out for Kobe. That's in that sense. Not focus is when a light bump from a ref can make you kick a pen over the bar. Didn't he get an assist? I don't know if he did. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This is what I was trying to say before. Like, like the way Chad wants his midfielder is not is it's a specific way, and Bruno clearly doesn't fit that mold because he's not the typical not the typical midfielder. So like, you guys aren't gonna agree because Chad wants a specific type of midfielder. You're okay with Bruno being the way he is because he's impactful in terms of he has 19 goals, and he gets 19 assists. So like, you guys, you guys are never gonna agree with each other. Um, what is this? The audio stream's current bitrate is lower than recommended. How was that? All right. Anyway, um, you said made no post. Well, he did make a post though. So, I mean, you did write, and you did say made no post, but he did make a post. Um, but I mean, well, I kind of missed it when it happened, and then people were talking about it, so I went back to it to see what it was about, and it was there's a movie, that's about, I don't know if it's a player or it's a musician that apparently no matter what he does, he can't impress his mentor or some shit. No matter what he does, no matter how hard he tries, the mentor never like gives him a chance or doesn't fucking give him words of encouragement or something like that. And there's a scene in the movie where the dude is in a room and basically just losing his shit, screaming at the ceiling, and I think he's playing like the drums or some shit. And Manu posted a screenshot of, it's basically the camera pans from a hallway, and it goes into the room with the dude sitting at the instruments and shit, and it's just a picture of the long shot from the hallway to the room. The guy is the background, and he put that picture up, um, and then people decided they were going to write their own conclusion to what that means because somebody knew the movie, somebody knew the scene, and they know what the movie's about, and they start putting one and two together, and that equals five. So, and then it turned into a thing because people are like, well, he's using it as a subliminal to basically say, I'm this guy that I'm trying as hard as I can, and no matter what I do, I can't impress Ruben, and Ruben doesn't give a shit. And I'm losing my mind, essentially. So much so to the point that I think the United Stand posted a picture, not a picture, they made a post about it, asking a question in the terms of, they put this up, and some people are claiming, that it's unrest or something like that, and they asked a question: do you think it has any meaning to it? Which Kobe saw it and replied, "Stretch." So, and that was the end of it. So now some people took it in one way, some people took it in another. Some people took it as Kobe was basically talking shit to the United Stand, basically trying to call them out and saying they're stretching shit. Other people took it as Kobe was replying stretch, basically saying that people are taking it out of context. They're making it bigger than what it was. It literally wasn't that. It was just, something else. And it has nothing to do with what they're saying. So, um, but yeah, other than that, there hasn't been any instances. So this is what I'm saying. Like before, he never made a social media post. He never did anything on social media. But recently, especially with this whole thing that just happened with the transfer window and him, essentially asking for a loan because he wants to play and he doesn't feel like he's going to play a lot. Since that story came out, that he asked the club that he wanted a loan, and the club told him there's no way you're getting loaned. He's played 2 matches. He hasn't played particularly well. and then he had this post on social media that may or may have not meant anything, but those three things have not happened prior to any of that. So just a bit concerned about the kid. He needs to keep his head down and he needs to stay focused. And I think he'll be all right. I think he needs to, cut all the other bullshit distractions out. But um yeah. Yeah, Baz says I don't agree with him playing in the midfield. I agree we should sell him for 100 mil and replace the team, but put some respect on his name. He's carried us for years. Well, listen, if he doesn't like him, Baz, he doesn't like him. You know what I mean? There's nothing you could do. The only thing you can do, Baz, is you put respect on his name, which you already do because you like him. That's all it. You're not gonna change Chad's mind. You know what I mean? You can debate and you can argue. That's fine if that's what you want to do. I'm just saying you're not gonna change his mind. Chad's mind is made up about it. So just like Chad's not gonna change your mind. You know? Pogba and Rashford and Zlatan and Rooney got us Europa and everything that Bruno got as well. But they didn't finish 15th. Yeah, but see, this is where I disagree with you, Chad. Like, this is where I disagree with you. I don't solely put, again, like I just said before, I don't solely put getting to 15th on Bruno Fernandes. I don't see how you can. I don't agree with doing that because I don't think it's logical. To me, it doesn't make very much sense to pin it all on one player. Now, you could say, he's the captain and whatever, but that's fine. He is the captain, and he should accept some more responsibility. But also, at the same time, I think, again, if you look at all the circumstances I literally just talked about before, there was Ineos was involved, there was Ten Hag was involved, there's Amorim is involved, and then there's Bruno, but then there's also all his teammates as well. So I don't think you can just say he led us to 15th because I don't think that's how it panned out. But you're being very, if you want to be very old school, he's the captain. He's in charge of everybody. It's his responsibility. He led us to 15th. That's fine. But I don't feel that way because I just think the circumstance of the club, again, I think it can't all be about one guy. Just like I said before, I mean, the top four clubs, if you put Bruno in there, I think they would have just done what they did because they already had a good team. I think it would have been fine. I don't think anything would have happened because the team was well built. Our team is not well built, and we're in the process trying to build it well. And it's messy. So, I would have kept Mkhitaryan rather than get. Bruno ain't defensive holding midfielder. He's been shoehorned into the midfield because our midfielders are shit. And he's our captain. He should be playing as one of the 10s. And Baz says, the next season we can cash in 100 million and go get Baleba, but I don't understand the disrespect on Bruno. It's crazy. Well, Baz, just, again, some people just don't rate him, man. They just don't like him. Again, I think it's about style. I think it's about style. It's about how you believe the position should be played. In terms of if you are a midfielder, there is a certain way that people feel like you should have certain qualities to qualify to be a good midfielder. And Bruno is a little bit different than the sort of classical role. Like if you compare Bruno to Scholes, it's two different players, and I'm not saying inability wise. Like I'm not saying Bruno is as good as Scholes. I think Scholes was, fantastic. Scholes, I rate Scholes higher than Bruno, but they play differently. At one point, they were the same because they were both attacking midfielders, but later on, um, basically the age that Bruno's at now. When Scholes was that age, they're two different players. Two different players. Scholes was he can't defend, like he couldn't tackle. This is the same as Bruno, but they play they play it two different ways. Scholes is very centered in his position. He doesn't have to move a lot because the way he plays, he just pings balls. Um, very good at vision, and he was very composed on the ball. Whereas Bruno sometimes is very erratic. Uh, sometimes Bruno will take the ball and he'll try and make some sort of a Hollywood pass when you don't need to do that because there's another option for a pass that's more simple and easier. And I think that's a lot of the discrepancies there. So, but uh, you can't. Nobody can argue that at the very least he's impactful because I mean you can't not be at least good. It doesn't make sense if you're getting goals and assists. I mean, if you play in the midfield and you're getting goals and assists, you're having an impact on the game somehow, one way or another. Might not be playing a total complete 90-minute game, which some people demand, and that's fine. But I don't think you can absolutely 100% discredit that either, because it doesn't really make sense. I mean, if you're getting 15 goals and 15 assists a season, you're certainly having impacts in the match. You're certainly good enough, and you're certainly doing something. So, um, so yeah. Um, but I think we're gonna get out of here because it's been a 3-hour stream. So, I'm just gonna double check real quick, see something came out. Late news. Nope. So pretty much score predictions. I'm saying 2-1 to United. I think we're gonna win. I think we're gonna win. I think Sesko will score tomorrow. Tomorrow, Sunday. I forgot what day it was. I think Sesko. I think Sesko's gonna score a goal. I think Sesko's gonna score a goal. And I think Sesko is gonna score the first goal of the match as well. I think hot take. Very specific on this one. I think United will score first, and I think City will score and tie at 1-1, and then United will score second at some point. And then City will come very close to scoring, but somehow we'll hold them off. I don't know. That's my hope. That's my hope. It's just off of a feeling. It's just off of a feeling. Pure vibes, pure vibe predictions. There is this update since we were talking about Kobe and stuff. Ben Jacobs an hour ago said Manchester United are optimistic about Manuel Ugarte making a strong impact, with manager Amorim showing confidence in him. The club is also monitoring Kobe Mainoo's progress. So I mean, it's that wasn't. I thought there was going to be more of a update because I saw a picture of Kobe. Um. So I mean, yeah, I just said that before. Let's see though. Let's see. I mean, again, this is what I'm saying. Manuel Ugarte is his second season. First season, I give you a little bit. I tend to lean and give the players a little bit of a free hit for the first season. I will protect them a little bit more. I will lean off of them a bit more. But the second season is that we got to step it up a little bit. We need to ask more from you. We got to demand a little bit more. We got to be a little bit more harsher. So, he had his season last season. I think it was a bit of a rough thing. He came in late. He didn't really have a preseason because he wasn't involved in PSG. It took him till about like November, December to start playing well. He did a little period where he played well. Then he fell off a little bit as well. So I think that's normal for most players, coming from a different league and adapting, and especially if you didn't have a preseason and all that stuff. Now it's his second season, and now he's got to I think similar to Rasmus Hoyland, you kind of gotta, and Omar Barada, our CEO, famous words. We give the players 1 to 2 seasons to prove that they're here. If you fail, then you're out. So, second season, he's got to show aggression from last season. He's got to show that there's something about him, and there's something worth um continuing to take time to try and develop him and keep him involved. Um, so we'll see. Uh, time to step up. Time to step up. For all of them. So hopefully, hopefully Sesko scores. And yeah. But other than that, we're gonna get out of here. I'll catch you guys later. You know what? We'll probably do a stream tomorrow as well because it is Friday. And we'll Friday freestyle. I mean, been quiet, so the hype's been a little bit low because of the international break, which has made everything boring. And everybody's sleeping and taking naps, and nobody really cares. But you know what? We've managed to have a 3-hour conversation with basically no news and no Premier League football in the last 2 weeks. So that's very, very good. Thank you to everybody that was involved in the chat and shared your opinions. Thank you to everybody that smashed the like button as well. Greatly appreciated. So, yeah, we will probably go live tomorrow. We might do a little bit of a later one than this one. We'll probably start it later. And we'll just do the Friday freestyle like we usually do, even though today was kind of like a freestyle, but not really. We talked a lot about City. We talked a lot about, the preview and stuff like that. Maybe there'll be some more news because it's going to be one day closer to match day and stuff like that. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, but we'll do one tomorrow, and then obviously we're gonna end up doing our first match recap of the season because we haven't been able to do Red Devil recap yet because it just wasn't working for me where I was. So there's the Red Devil recap coming up um, on Sunday as well. So tomorrow we'll do Friday freestyle, and then Sunday we'll do Red Devil recap. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So shout out to all of you. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the support. And we'll speak to each other very, very soon. Everybody have a good night, good evening, or good morning, wherever you're from or whenever you're watching this. If you are watching after and you made it all the way to 3 hours, I mean, you're literally a goat. Not literally a goat, but a goat. Throw in some comments underneath the show. You know, and make sure you hit the like button and make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff. So everybody be good, stay safe. We'll speak tomorrow. And yeah, thanks for joining. Thanks for taking the time.